is part two to The Bridesmaid by Tanisha Stewart. We finished, we read up to chapter 24, 25 for part one. I'm going to do a slight recap. We did cover a lot. We do plan on finishing the book today. So if you already read part one, we should be ending off here on part two. It's currently 10 p.m. in Chicago, 10:06. I was a little late. I'm going to give people a little bit of chance to get on, and I'm going to pull up the book. We're going to do a little recap, do a little predictions, and yeah, got my agua. I got a cup of ice because I like my water cold. A lot of people are like, I can't drink water unless it's room temperature. Now, the only way I'm gonna drink some room temperature water is if I'm parched. Like, I can't do it. But then some people say they don't like cold liquids because like it affects their teeth or they have sensitive teeth. I was like, I get it. Okay. Do 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 do. All of these books are on Kindle Unlimited, just for reference. Um, Okay, so the book The Bridesmaid follows Katrina. Katrina is a bridesmaid. She is currently sleeping with the groom. The night before the wedding, we find out that the bride is her sister Casey. So the book starts off in Katrina's point of view. She's with Troy, that's the groom's name. They spend their last night together before he goes off to marry her sister. The next scene follows everyone's at the wedding, the bridesmaids, groomsmen, Troy, Katrina, and Casey hasn't shown up. So at first she's just like, my sister's pulling a stunt. She wants to come in fashionably late. She's probably like gonna come in with a coffee from Starbucks and just like laugh it off or whatever. So some of the bridesmaids that I can remember by name is like Jocelyn, Tara. The groomsmen is Nate, Jeff, and somebody else. We find out that Nate is a family friend, so he's only in the wedding because he knows Casey and Katrina, but he also had a thing for Casey growing up. We find out that Troy is only marrying Casey because she says that she's pregnant. He actually was dating Katrina first. They dated for like 3 months. She slept with his cousin, so he got back at her and talked to her sister, but he tried to break up with her sister multiple times, but she said she was pregnant, so now they're getting married. The mom, the bride's mom and dad, and a couple of the bride's mom and dad, Nate and another groomsman or bridesmaid go to the house to look for Katrina. When they get there, they find out that a lamp was overturned, there was blood in the room, and that Casey wasn't there. So Katrina had to tell everyone that the wedding was canceled. She goes to her sister's house, and everyone's just kind of like in shock. In shock, Casey isn't there. So she calls the police. Police question everybody, but before that happened, Nate goes to give her Casey's phone, and then she's like, but he rubs, but she's like, you're not supposed to touch the phone. That's evidence, and then he rubs it on his jacket, so it's making it look like he's up to something. The police get there, they do their separate questioning. They downplay their relationship, but after the police leave, Nate drops the bomb that Troy and Katrina been sleeping around. So now Troy is pictured as this bad guy, which he should be because he was literally sleeping with both sisters. But they don't know that him and Katrina used to talk first because she never really brought her boyfriends around the family. She's been very low key. Casey is the daughter that everyone dotes on. She gets everything that's granted to her, and Katrina just have like this love hate relationship with her sister. Because she's mad at her because she's marrying the love of her life. Whatever. The next day, Troy's dad appears at his door with like tickets to Cuba, and hey girl, I'm just doing a recap and was waiting for you to get here. It's me and you. We gonna finish it out today. Troy's dad appeared and he has a ticket to Cuba and some money, and Troy is like, he's in disbelief that his dad thinks that he did this, and it's just like really weird for the dad to come do that, but he said that he's protecting his son, like whether Troy did it or not, like everyone always assumes the boyfriend slash or whatever. So after that, even if everything going on, he still can't get away from Katrina. So he calls Katrina, he goes to her house, they're having an intense conversation, and someone knocks on the door. It's a little girl there that looks exactly like Casey. She's calling Katrina TT, saying that Casey, her name's Casey. Casey's her mom. She lets her in. They don't really see who dropped the little girl off. She sees Troy. She calls him daddy. Like in her book bag, there's a birth certificate and a picture of her and the little girl and Casey. Um, they have some words. Her mom, Nate, I want to say Jocelyn and the dad, they're out doing like a search party that they didn't tell. That they didn't tell Katrina about. But I mean, like, it's not gonna be like, oh, we're going out to look for your sister, but she probably don't care because you sleep on her man anyway. So while they're out, she calls them to her house. They come to the house. Nate and Troy get into a fight. They kind of like throw blows a little bit. The detective shows up after Nate leaves and he's asking questions, and we find out that they found Casey's body and Casey is unalived. Um, they call Katrina down to the station to give her statement. They ask her a little bit more questions. So you find out that Katrina saw Casey after the rehearsal dinner, and Troy also saw Casey after the rehearsal dinner, which they lied and said the last time they saw her was at the rehearsal dinner. So it's so many characters in play. We know that somebody set her up, somebody unalived her, but we don't know who it is. After that, I think her mom takes the baby to their house, and Katrina doesn't want to be at the house by herself, so she goes to her mom and dad's house. Nate comes over the next day. He said he called off work. He's disheveled. Everything is all over the news, and I don't think I left anything out, but it's possible. But if you want to read the book, the name of the book is called The Bridesmaid, and it's by Tanisha Stewart. It's on Kindle Unlimited. So oh, the last thing we found out was that they asked Casey, the 3-year old, they asked her who dropped her off. She said Jimmy, who was mommy's friend. We don't know who Jimmy is, but they later found out who Jimmy was. He already flew to Montenegro. So Troy needs to be following suit and flying to Cuba. So they can't really question him or extradite him because he's in another country. And last thing they said that they're trying to do everything that they can. They found her phone. Someone took out someone deleted all the information, took out the SD card. They said that Casey was stabbed like 6 times. She was left in the park. They're checking cameras and they're talking to the night guard. We don't know who this man is, but Katrina distinctly remembered that, like, kind of like in the middle of the night, Troy left out and he came back, and she's just hoping that he wasn't the one who did something to her sister. So it's a lot going on, but we're going to get it started. Chapter 23, Katrina. The only good piece of news we received, it has to do with Troy's daddy. Somebody is being blackmailed and or set up. The only good piece of news we receive is when Detective Rogers calls us back to tell us that the DNA results came in and that Casey is indeed baby Casey's mother. The little part that they was trying to figure out like how she had a whole baby. There was a time where we need someone. I guess there was a time that she took on a work trip and she was gone for 6 months. So there's a chance that she could have went off, had a baby, and came back like nothing happened. Before they left us with her, the detective explained that they weren't supposed to do that. But since we had birth certificate and photo of her with my sister, that would be enough to let us keep her until the results came in. I don't know who you're talking to, but you can take that on somewhere else. Technically, we already knew Casey was my sister's daughter, but it at least helps us to know that she won't be ripped from us like her mother was. Once we receive the news, I grow restless. They say that they're investigating leads, and it seems like they're on the job, but they haven't covered all bases. I need to find out what happened to my sister. Now she cares. I don't know what motivation is guilt or genuine concern, but before I know it, I'm on the move. I'm going to go check my house and grab the snacks and things that I bought for baby Casey, I say to my parents. I also want to get her some clothes and shoes. Mom seems reluctant to let me out of her sight at first, but once I mention the clothes and shoes for baby Casey, she's all in. I'm secretly looking forward to dressing her up in cute little outfits and styling her hair, and I can tell Mom is too from the way she perks up. We need something positive to think about in all of this. Okay, but don't take too long, Mom says, and I nod, feeling particularly guilty for lying about my true reason for leaving the house. Then another wave of emotion hits me when I get outside the door. I stare back at it, my nose burning with sadness. I realize that although I always believed my mother loved me, it never really hit me that she loved me because she didn't like me. The fact that she wants me to keep close after what happened with Casey is doing things to me that I can't describe. I suddenly don't feel like that much of an F up, though I totally am for how I've been carrying my life. The simple gesture of her worrying about me makes me feel worthy. I sit in that emotion for a few more moments, then return to my mission. When I get inside my car, I make sure I'm a few blocks away before I make the first call. Tyra, one of the other bridesmaids, is first on my list. My parents and I have all received calls and texts since the news broke about Casey, but to my knowledge, she hasn't reached out to any of us. As soon as I click the green button to make the call, hit with a tone sounds, and then a robotic voice says, "The number you're going to reach is no longer in service." No longer in service. Phone number. I try again and I'm faced with the same message. Pulling over, I try to figure out what's going on. How could Tyra's number be disconnected that quickly? I just spoke to her the day of the wedding from this number. I made all the calls to make sure I was going to be at the church on time, trying to do my due diligence with my sister. Why would Tyra change her number? I navigate to social media and type in her name, but she doesn't show up. That's weird. I think for a few moments and then I log through my burner account that I use for Troy when he and I block each other, and for her pop and her profile pops up. This B blocked me. I try my best not to freak out, but I suddenly feel like I stumbled on something. Why the H would Tyra change her number and then block me right after my sister's murder was made public? Something's up. I can feel it. Should I call the detective? While considering that, I think back to everything I know about Tyra. Tyra and Casey were high school friends, but they were never really close. They were the sort of friends who kept in touch after high school but didn't hang out. Didn't hang heavy. Could Tyra and my sister have had beef? If so, why would Casey make her a bridesmaid at her wedding? The only way to find out is to find Tyra. I don't want to reach out to her from my burner account since she clearly won't write back. I need to see her in person. The next person on my list is Jocelyn. She was my sister's other bridesmaid besides me and Tyra. Unlike Tyra's trifling, but Jocelyn called as soon as she saw on the news on social media. Jocelyn lives in Philly. She and Casey always also weren't close, but they always kept in touch after high school like Casey and Tyra did. Jocelyn picks up on a third ring. "Hello?" she answers, and she sounds terrible. My heart goes out to her because I know she must be feeling it like the rest of us. "Jocelyn, how are you?" She sniffles. "Girl, I'm trying to hold it together. Looking at old pictures that me and Casey took together. I can't believe this happened." "Me either." We sit in silence for a second. "Question," I say. "What is it?" I open my mouth to ask about Tyra, but another question comes to me first. "Did you know about my sister's daughter?" A second before Jocelyn seems to process what I'm saying. "Your sister's daughter?" She sounds confused. "What do you mean? The baby she was pregnant with?" "No, her other daughter." "What other daughter?" My sister slumped. My shoulder slumped. "I guess you didn't know then." I briefly explained what happened yesterday with baby Casey. "What?" Jocelyn screeches, her voice raising several octaves when I share the news. "Are you serious? A 3-year-old child?" "Yes," I say, "and she was dropped off by somebody named Jimmy. Do you know him?" Jocelyn is silent for a moment. Then she sighs. "No, I don't, Katrina. I'm so sorry. What about Tyra? Does she know Jimmy?" "Tyra's butt blocked me," I say without thinking. My goal for this conversation wasn't to start drama, but now the words are out, I can't take them back. "She blocked you? Why?" I sigh. "Girl, I have no idea. Have you tried to call her?" Hold on. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I got a text message. Not since yesterday. I did call her last night, but it went straight to voicemail. But she blocked you? Yes. Wow, Katrina. The way Johnson says it lets me know she must be thinking exactly what I'm thinking. Listen, I have some personal time for work. I can take a week off and help you guys with anything you might need. I feel so terrible that this happened and I'm out here in Philly. "No, Johnson, you don't need to do that." I say. "I appreciate you, though." "What are the cops saying?" she asks. "Have they questioned Tyra?" I blow out a short breath. Girl, that's a whole nother story. I want to tell her everything, but at the same time, I don't want to unload on my sister's friend. She has her own life to attend to, and she already offered a listening ear for me for this long. "Listen, I gotta go, but I'll keep you in the loop about the arrangements." Jocelyn is silent for a second. Then she says, "Okay, I'll listen for your call." But let me know if you need anything at all. And if Tyra reaches out, I'll definitely let you know. I never liked that B. I wasn't even sure why Casey even made her a bridesmaid anyway. I was about to hang up the call before Jocelyn made that statement. Why do you say that? Her and Casey barely liked each other. I asked Casey before the wedding why she had her in the wedding. She said she had her reasons. I shake my head. Definitely something my sister would do. If you hear from Tyra, please let me know. And if you can find any information about Jimmy too, I sure will. Once again, I'm so sorry, Katrina. Casey really looked up to you. That throws me for a loop. My breath catches in my throat at those words. I almost want to say she did, and then ask questions so I can hear what my sister said about me. But I've already taken too much of Jocelyn's time. Thank you, I say instead. That means a lot to me. Chapter 24, Katrina. After my phone call with Jocelyn, I really want to find Tyra. At the same time, something tells me I should back off and just tell the detectives what happened. I don't want to overstep my boundaries, but I do want to know what happened to my sister. New suspect, Tyra. I'm glad you're taking notes. In the middle of my rambling thoughts, Troy calls. Hello? I answer. My tone is cross because I don't want to talk to him right now. What's wrong with you? He asks as if he's upset with me. What do you think, Troy? He softens. I know, but never mind. Never mind what? Nothing. Where are you? Are you still at your parents' house? Why do you want to know? The more I talk to him, the more irritable I'm becoming. The hurt in his tone makes me soften a bit. I just want to make sure you're okay. I respond after a few moments. I'm fine, at least as much as I can be. What are the cops saying? Everyone keeps asking me that. It seems that I'm the designated point person, though Mom is the one that with Detective Rogers' number on speed dial. I sigh. They're trying to find out who did it. Who do you think did it? There goes that tone again. What is up with Troy? Why is he acting so jittery? I get that everything is tense because our secret is out and we're trying to figure out how baby Casey came into the picture, but still, I go for it. Troy, where did you go that night at the hotel? The night at the hotel, he repeats, as if he had no idea what I'm talking about. This makes me press harder. Yes, the night at the hotel. I dozed off for a minute, and when I woke up, you were gone. When you came back, you said you were in the bathroom. Silence, and then, I don't understand what you're getting at. Come on, Troy, stop playing with me. Where did you go? The bathroom, like I told you. Why are you questioning me? Because I know you didn't go to the effing bathroom. The bathroom door was on the other side of the room from the door. Do you think I'm dumb? Silence. Where did you go, Troy? He doesn't respond. Do you hear me talking to you? I hear you loud and clearly, Katrina, he says in an accusatory tone. But the question isn't about where I went. The better question is, where did you go? What do you mean? Where did I go? Now I'm the one playing. No, don't try to back up now. You left the room too, Katrina. Where did you go? And what did you do? It's clear that Troy is questioning me as a stalling tactic, but knows now that he's asking me, flashes of what happened that night are flooding my mind. I don't want to think about it. F you. I'll talk to you later, I say and hang up the phone. Of course, Troy tries to call back, but I don't answer. I go to the store and buy a few outfits for baby Casey, then stop at my house to pick up the snacks so my mom won't think that I'm lying. After that, I head back to my parents' house. When I get there, Nate is slowly walking towards his car, terror in his eyes. Hey, I say when I approach him, what's wrong with you? He turns to me with tears in his eyes. The detectives call me in for questioning. My heart drops. You? Why? My Nate doesn't answer. He just continues to his car. Chapter 25. Nate, we got another POV. I can do this. I can do this. I muster as I pull up to the police station. They don't come to the house and arrest me. That's a good sign, at least. But I don't know what I'll face when I get inside. Somehow I knew this moment was coming, but when I came, it swept me off my feet. My heart is pounding in my ears and hoping that I can get through this interview without leaving in handcuffs. Staring at the glass door, I take a deep breath, then open it with a whoosh. Walking inside and wait until it closes behind me to step forward. There's a man sitting at the front desk. He's fiddling with his phone and looking bored out of his mind. Yes, he says when I approach, not looking up from his phone screen. I'm here to see Detective Rogers. I try my best to speak in a steady tone to not draw any possible suspicion to myself. The desk clerk isn't the guy entering me, but still, maybe if I act weird, he'll say something to Detective Rogers, and then I'll be screwed. Finally, he looks at me, then picks up the phone next to him and presses a button. Holding the receiver against his ear, after a few seconds, he says, yeah, I have a Mr. He gestures to me. Daniels, I say, Nate Daniels. Nate Daniels here to see you? Okay, copy. He hangs up. He'll be here in a second. Then he goes back to his phone. Thankfully, I don't have to stand here awkwardly for much too longer because Detective Rogers approaches the desk less than a minute later. Hey, Shayna. He greets me with a nod and a grim smile. I mirror the gesture though. I don't think I nailed it. Ears reddening, I follow him as he leads me to what he calls the interview room. It looks like one of those interrogation rooms from TV. POB, Nate. One of the overhead lights is flickering. The walls are bland, dark and gray color, and the rectangular table only has three chairs, one on one side and two on the other. I imagine I'll be on the side with one chair while the two detectives sit on the other side to question me. Here we go. I muse as I enter and sit in the long seat. If it tips downward from my weight and I immediately feel uncomfortable. One of the legs is shorter than the other and I'm not going to be able to sit here for long. I've always had obsessive compulsive tendencies, so I hate things that are asymmetrical. My mind immediately grows frantic at the slant of the chair. Detective Rogers seemed to notice my discomfort. Everything okay? I lick my lips. Yes, I glance around the room. Actually, could I possibly have a different chair? This one seems to be firm grip. I rock side to side for emphasis. My belly rubs against the table as I do so, causing some of the buttons of my pajamas to come loose. I automatically readjust it. I have to rearrange myself at the Johnson's house earlier. I caught a look at myself in the mirror. My shoes were on the wrong feet. One of my pockets was inside out. Couldn't do much about the wrinkles. Detective Rogers doesn't seem to take too kindly to my request. We won't be here long, he responds, instead of offering me another chair. As soon as he finishes saying that, the female detective Brady enters the room carrying a manila folder full of papers with the iPad on top. Sorry I'm late, she says, then closes the door sitting next to Detective Rogers. Now that the two of them are sitting together on one side of the table and I'm on the other, I start to sweat. They likely think it's because I'm guilty of something, but it's not. It's this dang chair. No matter how careful I place my butt, it keeps shifting. Is the seat loose too? Nate, Detective Rogers starts. Mind who called you that? I shake my head, adjusting it in the seat once more. Nate's fine. Great. He lips fine. Then he looks at his notepad before beginning the interview. They ask me general questions at first, but I can barely pay attention because of this dang chair. If I don't find the right angle soon, it's going to drive me nuts. Last time you saw Casey. I look up, realizing Detective Rogers just asked me another question. I'm forcing my body to the left, tilting the chair upward and holding my breath. Long as I sit still, I should be good. Pardon, I say, gathering my words. He sighs. I said, when was the last time you saw Casey? My shoulders tense at the rehearsal party. His eyes light up, and I know I've given the wrong answer. Dang it, the chair teeters back to the slanted end. At the party, you say? Detective Brady jumps in, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. No, no, no. I mean, yes. I let out a breath, trying to force the chair back upright while gripping the table. What time did the party end? Detective Rogers asks. I think back, trying to keep a straight face. Around 10, I think. That's when the party's shutting down at least. 10 o'clock, Detective Brady repeats, and the chair goes back to a tilt. Dang, I nod, keeping my breath steady. And you didn't see Casey again after that? Detective Brady asks, and I grow frustrated. That's what I said. Detective Ryder says, like he's on. What's interesting is that the camera footage at the hotel paints a different picture. I gasp. I've been so focused on the dang chair that I haven't thought about the fact that the cameras must have recorded everything. He continues tapping his iPad and as he does so. The system unfortunately erases footage and updates it every 24 hours, but from the bits of footage we were able to retrieve, you are shown interacting with Casey a little after 1 a.m. I swallow. Crap. I can explain, I start, but Detective Rogers isn't finished. He turns the screen and shows to me, then press play. Clear as day, there's me and Casey. Thankfully, the video is silent, but it shows us arguing and her slapping me. I walk away after my facial expression is far from friendly. Care to let us know what happened there? Detective Rogers says with a smug smile. I lick my lips. Look, it's not what you think. Detective Rogers clicks his pen. What do I think, Nate? I fall silent, then shake my head. Ignoring his question, I was trying to reason with her. Reason with her about what? Detective Brady asks. Her body leaned forward, her chin resting in her right palm. I exhaled sharply. Look, I was in love with her, okay? My voice is unnaturally loud as I say it, but I can't help it. Neither detective flinches at my outburst, which doesn't say much about my ability to be intimidated, but I pressed on anyway. I was in love with her, I repeat in a softer tone. Took the chair long for guard. I tried to explain to her that before she married that bozo. Troy? Detective Brady clarifies, jotting something down in her notepad. I nodded. Yes, that loser never loved her. He was too busy effing Katrina. Effing Katrina? Detective Brady repeats as if she's surprised. I don't miss the subtle sarcasm in her tone. Yes, they were obvious, but I seemed to be the only one who noticed. I went to Casey to tell her what I knew about, Even told her that Troy was down the hall in her sister's bedroom then, effing her, but she didn't care. She didn't care? Detective Rogers repeat in a neutral tone. I shake my head. No, she completely brushed me off and told me to mind my business. Then my eyes dropped back and forth. We exchanged more words and then she slapped me. I realized I was going to get through to her, so I left. You left? Detective Rogers says, staring through me as she speaks. As he speaks. I swallow. Yes, I left. I swear, that was it. Detective Brady jumps back in. Take us back to the argument. You said you exchanged words. What else did you say to each other? I stare at her. I don't want to say it. Do you recall what was said? Detective Rogers asks when a few moments pass and I still haven't answered. Yes. What happened? Detective Brady persists. I give in, looking away from both of them as I speak. I called her a stupid bee, and she slapped me. A stupid bee? Those are rather harsh words, Detective Brady says, jotting something else in her notepad. Did she go back to her room that night after the argument? Detective Rogers asks. I shake my head profusely. No, that was the last time I saw her, I swear. He slides the manila envelope to the side of the table and flips it open, taking out some blown up photos and laying them on the table as so they face me. What are you doing? Why are you showing me this? I ask, as my stomach turns at the gruesome sight before me. Blood is all I can see. So much blood everywhere, all over Casey's once beautiful body. She didn't stand a chance. I want to look away, but at the same time, I can't stop staring. You see, Nate, you told us before that the last time you saw Casey was at the party. Then you changed it and said that you saw her after the party, but it was only that one time. If you're telling the truth, how did all this happen? He gestured at the photos. I looked at him in shock, licking my lips. Whoa, I don't know. I didn't do this to her. Come on, Nate, you're a big guy. Detective breaks in, her arms now crossed as she sits back in the chair. Maybe you went back to Casey's room and tried to reason with her again. Maybe things got a little out of hand. No, last chance to show her you loved her, Detective Rogers says. She was about to marry that a-hole, Troy. The room begins spinning, and she didn't take your word for it. And answered, so things got a little physical, Detective Brady asks. How did you two get to the park? Did you stop at her house first? Detective Rogers asks. We didn't. Maybe you decided to take a walk. The park's only a few away, Detective Brady chimes in. I'm staring back and forth between them as they construct a timeline for what they think I did to Casey. What happened when you got to the park? You tried again? Detective Rogers asks, leaning closer to me as he speaks. And she says no, so you can't take the rejection, Detective Brady finishes. No, I exclaim, finally getting a word in edgewise. I push back from the table, blood rushing to my ears. None of what you're saying is true. I would never do something like this to Casey. I choke on my words. Never. I'm growing dizzy and the room seems to be getting smaller by the second. Will you submit to a DNA test? Detective Rogers asks. For what? I shoot back. There was a semen found in her body along with the vaginal scarring. Detective Brady, we think whoever did this may have assaulted her. I never touched her, I yell, slamming my fist on the wall. Then you have no problem submitting a DNA test, right? Detective Brady says, jeering as he speaks. We engage in a stare down for several seconds, neither of us budging from our stance. Go right ahead and swab me, I finally let out. I'll show you. I have nothing to hide. Whew. Chapter 26, Katrina. This is completely out of line, but I can't help it. I'm sitting in my car outside Tyra's house trying to figure out why she changed her number and why she blocked me on social media after my sister's murder was announced. Never mind, they seem too dense to be a suspect. Uh, I stare at her front door, studying it as if it might somehow give me the keys to my dilemma. Her car isn't outside, but I decide to knock anyway. No answer. Determined, I head to Burger Barn where Tyra works. As soon as I walk in, I spot her trying to slip in the back. Our eyes meet, and she immediately tells me to leave. Why did you change your number, Tyra? I demand, fighting to hold back my emotions. Just go, Katrina, she snaps, her voice cold and dismissive. Excuse me. I can't believe her. How could she be so rude at a time like this? I could see if I came in here guns blazing, but I've been as calm as I can muster. Don't you care that Casey's dead? You're a bridesmaid at her wedding, for Christ's sake. At this point, I'm clearly grasping for straws, trying to get her to show me some sense of compassion for my loss, but I don't know what I expect when she hasn't reached out to anyone in the family. I asked mom and dad, and neither of them have heard from her either. What is Tyra's deal? Why not show common courtesy? A crowd starts to gather, her co-workers whispering. Tyra's face hardens and she warns me, I'll call the police if you don't leave. She's still standing by the kitchen door like she might run back there at any moment. It's not like I'm going to follow her if she does, but still, her actions are pissing me off. Come on, Tyra, I say through gritted teeth. I just want to talk to you. What if it was your sister? Something flashes in her eyes, and for a moment I think I've convinced her to talk to me, but my efforts are in vain. Her face hardens again, and she adamantly points to the door. Go, she says. This is the last time I'm asking. Why is this bee so weird? What did Casey see in her? I think back to Jocelyn's comment about how she was surprised Casey asked Tyra to be in her wedding. From the way she's acting now, I can see why she thought my sister was crazy. Who does this? I sense Tyra's hiding something, but I can't risk getting arrested. As I turn to go, she bursts. Casey was a filthy WHORE who couldn't keep her legs closed. Rage blinds me, and I turn back, lunging for her, but Andrew grabs me, pulling me back. Out now, he orders. I can't believe the audacity of this girl. From her smug smile, I could tell she only made her comment to get under my skin. But who would be so childish at that moment like this? Does she have any respect for the dead? Obviously not. Humiliated, I leave and drive straight to the police station. I find Detective Brady and Rogers breathless with urgency. Tyra's hiding something. She changed her number and blocked me. You need to question her. At first, they appear taken aback by my persistent tone and wild gestures. Detective Rogers asks, "Who is Tyra?" I sucked my teeth. She was one of the bridesmaids from the wedding. Then I remember that Tyra wasn't part of the group that went to Casey's house. The day we discovered she was missing, I should have known by the way that she was eager to leave the church that something was off. I opened my mouth again, speaking in a calmer tone to get my message across. I have reason to believe that Tyra might be hiding something, or at least something information. She's probably the one who's connected to Jimmy. Now that I've told them who Tyra is, Detective Brady's expression softens. What made you suspect Tyra knows something? Immediately, I launch into an explanation of all I have uncovered thus far. By the time I'm finished, both detectives look furious. Stop taking matters into your own hands, Katrina. You could compromise the investigation, Detective says. Even if you do find something, it may not be admissible in court, Detective Brady asks. Then she puts a hand on my shoulder, seeming to sense my frustration. I understand you want to find out what happened to your sister, but you have to let us do our jobs. This is a delicate situation. My shoulders slump in defeat as my eyes fill with unshed tears. Don't worry, Detective Ryder says. We've been diligently working to find out who did this. I stare at him. What have you found? Anything new? His lips form a thin line as he is questioning how much he should tell me. Then he mentions that they are testing Nate for DNA in Casey's murder, along with Troy, to determine who assaulted her and who fathered her baby. I'm puzzled. Why Nate? I don't think anything was going on with him and my sister. Brady and Rogers exchange glances but offers nothing more. Now suspicion gnaws at me. Could Nate be involved in Casey's death? Leaving the station, my mind reels with questions. What if everything I thought I knew was wrong? Chapter 27, Katrina. When I leave the police station, the first person I want to see is Troy. I know that they just told me to back off, but I know when he is lying. I already know he's been hiding something from my recent interactions, and if I can get him to open up to me, I can find out what it is. When I get to his house, my gut tells me to leave it alone and let the detectives do their job. For a moment, I'm frozen in place, wrestling with which side I should listen to, my rational mind or the part of me that wants to get to the bottom of this. In the end, stupidity wins. Troy opens the door hastily as if he's been expecting me. Katrina, his voice trembles and he pulls me into his arms when he shuts the door. We linger in our hug for a few moments and I inhale the scent I've come to long for when I'm home alone at night. Despite everything that happened, I can't shake my love for Troy. In my heart, I know he's not guilty, but I still have to have the difficult conversations. How are you holding up? He asks when we pull back. My eyes blur, the best that I can under the circumstances. He studies me, his eyes boring into mine. How's the baby? I tense at the question, then remember why I'm here. I let out a breath, stepping back from him. Troy, we need to talk. His pupils dance. About what? You know what? We never finished our conversation the other day. The prior tension returns to his tone. That's because you hung up on me. I open my mouth to hurl a sarcastic response, but stop myself. Let's not fight, I say. I just want to know why you left the room and where you went that night. Why are you making such a big deal out of it? You made a big deal out of your disappearance too, he says, crossing his arms. That's because, my voice trails off. Because what? I fill up and then the dam breaks. I can't get our last conversation out of my mind, Troy. Tears escape my eyes and before I know it, I'm back in his arms. I let it out. It was awful, I say through my sobs. I went to her room while you were sleeping because I wanted to try to convince her to call off the wedding. Troy pulls back slightly in shock. You did? I nod, forcing myself to calm. I couldn't bear watching her walk down the aisle toward you when that was supposed to be us. But when she opened her room door, all I saw were bottles. She was drunk. My face grows hot, and I recall our argument from that night. Before I knew it, I was screaming at her, calling her an inconsiderate bee for putting her baby in danger. She called me an old maid and said no man would ever want me. I couldn't help myself. I stopped short, and I wanted to tell him the rest. Then what happened? He urges, and I don't detect a hint of judgment in his eyes. I sighed. I told her about us. I stared into his eyes. I told her we were together before you two even met, and how we've been sleeping together all along. My voice falters again as I reflect on the look on my sister's face when I shared that information. Hurt, embarrassment, panic, and then Casey's signature smirk. What did she say when you told her? Tori asked. She said she already knew. I asked who told her, but she didn't tell me. Then she said, well, if he loves you so much, why is he marrying me? Why am I carrying his baby? Seems to me like he just used you to get his rocks off, sis. The way she said it with such venom, Troy, I couldn't take it. We started fighting. Troy doesn't appear surprised at the part of the story, but I continue. I threw a glass at her and it shattered, but she cut her foot. She kicked me out of her room. I tried to balance her. I tried to help her once I found out she was bleeding, but she started screaming at me. I didn't want people to start coming to her room, so I left. I figured she was just drunk and the cut wasn't that big. I thought we would talk about it the next day or laugh it off like we always do. Pain consumes my body as I consider the weight of me and Casey's situation. Of course, she wouldn't be laughing off the fact that I was sleeping with her fiance while she was pregnant with his child. Why would I ever think that was possible? I never thought this would happen, Troy. I know, right? Troy's eyes are glistening with tears as he nods. I understand. I went to her room after you went to sleep. I knew she had fought someone, but all of the shattered glass, but all she told me to do was F off. I threatened to call off the wedding, but she warned me that if I did, I would never see my child. I didn't know what to do. I was so angry. He trails off. In the end, I left her room feeling like even more of a coward than I already was. He's telling the story, and it seems like he's being truthful, but also that he's not telling the whole thing. I know something else happened between Troy and my sister. My mouth opens to press him for answers, but I hesitate. Do I really want to know if he did something to my sister? Could I live with it if Troy is found out to be somehow responsible for her death? I open my mouth again to ask, but stop myself again, remembering the detective's words from before. Even if Troy does confess something to me, it may not be admissible in court. Plus, if he had something to do with what happened to Casey, he's dangerous. I take a slow step back from him. He's giving me a longing gaze, but I'm exhausted from letting my story out. Plus, the agony of having so many questions with so few answers is starting to get to me. I need to go home. I need to rest. They question me again, Troy says before I can tell him I'm about to leave. My ears perk up. The detectives? He nods. What did you say? I told them you pretty much what I just told you. There goes his dancing pupils again. My eyes narrow, but I don't have the strength to get into it. They took my DNA for testing, he offers. I know they won't find anything, but I'm still scared. That part makes me relax slightly. If Troy consented to a DNA test, that means that he can't have done anything to Casey, right? When I leave Troy's house, I feel like I can finally rest for a moment and continue to enjoy my parents and get to know my niece. But when I walk to the door, I'm sadly mistaken. We just got off the detectives, Mom says as soon as I open the door. I tense. And what did they say? She pursed her lips. It turns out your sister wasn't pregnant. All my Mandarin was screeching halt. What? Mom's features are etched to exhaustion. The medical examiner found no evidence of a pregnancy. My mouth is hanging open. When Casey and I fought that night, she told me she was carrying Troy's baby. That was a lie. Maybe they were mistaken. I protest, grasping for straws, or she could have miscarried. Mom's expression is stony. They checked her records and there is nothing showing a miscarriage. They have completely ruled it out, but they are leaning towards the belief that Casey was not pregnant. A swirl of thoughts cloud my mind. If what Mom is saying is true, it means Casey lied about being pregnant with Troy's baby. Why? So she could take your man. I mean, her man, but girl, Casey wasn't even pregnant. Chapter 28. Troy. That night, everyone else is dancing and having a good time, but my mind is in a frenzy. I have to stop this. I can't go through with this wedding tomorrow, but the only thing holding me back is the fact that this bee is hanging our baby over my head. I've always wanted children. How could she do this to me? Usually a woman will let a man leave and just put him on child support. Why is Casey being so difficult? Can't she see that our marriage is going to be miserable if we go through with it? I don't love her. Never did. My heart has always been with Katrina. I've broken her heart beyond measure, but I can fix this. Maybe I can fix us. I asked for the millionth time since I found out Casey was pregnant why I stayed with her all this time. The only answer I can come up with is that I'm toxic. In the beginning, I blamed Katrina for all our problems because she would treat me like crap and then come back to me like nothing happened. But this whole affair with Casey has shown that I'm much worse than she is. Yes, she slept with my cousin, but that was a one night stand. Why carry on a full fledged relationship with her sister? He was Katrina's first. A flash of guilt consumes me as I think deeper about why. Part of it is because I got a sense of enjoyment in sneaking around. It's wrong and we shouldn't do it, but effing Katrina behind Casey's back made me feel vindicated when Casey treats me like crap. But then when Katrina and I fight, I rub in the fact that I'm still dating her sister in her face. I was all fun and games till she turned up pregnant, but now we're in this big mess with seemingly no way out, unless my plan worked. I casually creep towards the table where Casey's flute of sparkling water is sitting. She's been jumping up and down from her seat all night, dancing and mingling and drinking from that glass, demanding refills as soon as she finished. So far, I haven't had a chance to be alone on the table, but it seems everyone is distracted. Casey is talking to her parents. Katrina went to the bathroom, and Nate's nosy butt is out in the hallway on his cell phone. This is my moment of truth. If I get this done, I don't have to worry about Casey or this baby. I hate that it has come to this, but I see it no other way. Even if we stay together, get married, and have the kid, I can't take her holding the baby over my head for the rest of my life. I refuse to be her slave while Katrina suffers. This is all my fault. If I wasn't so selfish and immature, Katrina and I would have been together. It's time to put an end to Casey's reign of terror. I'm steps away from the table when a wave of guilt hits me. Their crushed pills are in my pocket. All it would take is to pour them into the glass, stir them until they dissipate, and wait till Casey takes her next drink. They're supposed to be tasteless. The guy who sold them to me assured me that they would cause a miscarriage within hours. Once it starts, Casey will likely call me and then I'll take her to the hospital and hold her hand through the whole ordeal. Once enough time passes, she will no longer have a hold over me. I'll be free to go, and Katrina and I will be together forever. So that's what he did. Maybe he's no longer a suspect either. Taking a deep breath, I will myself to move. There isn't much time. I need to do this now before Casey returns to the table or someone notices what I'm doing. I'm standing in front of her seat. It shouldn't look suspicious since her seat is next to mine anyway. I stare at her glass. Do it, I whisper, then I scan the room, ensure no one is looking. Clear. Slipping my tiny container from my pocket, I discreetly twist the cap off, then look around again. No one is watching. I slip the powdery substance into Kaylee's flute, then quickly grab her spoon and swirl it around so it dissolves. Then I step away, and not a moment too soon because Nate and Katrina have both re-entered the party from opposite directions, and Casey is walking back toward the table for her drink. She brushes past me without saying anything. I almost want to call out for her, to tell her to stop, to not drink from the flute after what I've done, but I don't. Casey raises the flute to her lips without a thought and downs it. As her eyes scan the room to look for a server to refill it, I turn away, guilt creasing my chest. What have I done? Ever since that night, I had nothing but flashbacks and nightmares. Even though I'm not the one who stabbed Casey and I dang sure didn't sexually assault her, I still feel like I had something to do with her death. My mind goes to the blood on her counter and the kitchen floor. Did she start feeling sick and drive home? I can imagine her in the kitchen, woozy and helpless. Then she falls out and hits her head on the counter, causing the blood to pool around her on the floor. Sometime later, she wakes up disoriented and stumbles out of her house, walking aimlessly until she reaches the park. Then some random guy sees her, takes advantage of her, then unalives her so she can't tell on him. And if that is what happened to Casey, it's my fault. I did play a hand in her death, and I'll never be able to live it down. A knock on my door interrupts my thoughts. Parts of me hopes it's Katrina, but I doubt she would come back this soon after our last conversation. She's only been gone an hour or so. I wanted to tell her what I had done, but I couldn't bring myself to confess. When I begrudgingly open the door, I get the shock of my life. It isn't Katrina. It's a team of officers headed by Detective Rogers and Brady. What's going on? I asked, and Detective Brady thrust a paper in my face. We're here to execute a search warrant. My mind is swimming. A search warrant, I repeat. For what? They don't answer. Instead, they barge into my house, knocking crap down and breaking things without any care for my property. My face contorts and furry and I'm about to make a scene, but before the words can fly from my mouth, someone yells, I got something. and every cell in my body stands still. The detectives enter my bedroom and are in there for an indeterminate amount of time. When they return, Detective Rogers is carrying a plastic bag with something inside of it. He sneers when he approaches me. This look familiar? He says, holding the baggie up with gloved hands for me to see. My jaw drops. It looks to be a pocket knife and is covered in blood. No, I say, my voice barely above a whisper. You really should have done a better job of hiding this if you didn't want it to get caught. He replies, I didn't. Troy Baker, Detective Brady starts cutting me off. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. This is surreal. The knife isn't mine. I did not kill Katrina. But whose is it? And how did it get in my house? So many questions are flooding my brain, but I have answers to none of them. What's worse is, if I don't find the answers, I'm going down. Now I'm on ladies train about Troy's daddy because you remember when Troy daddy came to give him the tickets or whatever. Literally, Troy's daddy is the only person that's been inside of his house. Unless when he went to go see Katrina that one time, somebody broke in his house and planted the knife. They definitely trying to set him up. But like you can't plant DNA. So, ooh child. Chapter 29. Katrina. The detectives told us they arrested Troy right before the news broke the story. When the words registered in my ears, my heart lurched and I become unsteady on my feet. Are you sure? I asked, not believing what Detective Rogers just said. How did they go back there and find it that fast? There are few dead cats on the line. Yes, his daddy. Right, like, I mean, how long was they in there before they found it? And like, you really think that if somebody had a murder weapon that they would just leave it out in the open with the blood still on it? Um, I asked, and I believe what Detective Rogers just said. He gave me a grim smile. We found the murder weapon in his closet. Detective Brady offered an intercounter smile too, but I barely met her eyes. Dizziness consumed me, and I hung onto a chair for balance. This could not be true. Troy would not have unalived my sister. Troy would never hurt Casey. But you suspected he did something. My mind taunted. How he told you he played a hand in it. I still didn't believe it, but now that our detectives say that they found the murder weapon in his closet, the cognitive dissonance was real. This can't be right, I stammered, still holding to my convictions. You need to question Tyra, like I said, and Jimmy, I added, grasping for straws. The guard at the park, he said that he saw a man. Troy couldn't have been at the park because he was with me. I was scrambling. I was rambling, and my words didn't sound cohesive to my ears, but Detective Rogers' eyes had held compassion. He rested a hand on my shoulder. I know this comes as a shock, Katrina, but the murder weapon is undeniable evidence. But I was at a loss for words, and we did interview your friend Tyra, he continued. I opened my mouth to tell him that Tyra wasn't my friend, but he cut me off, launching into the story of what was going on with her. Apparently, she was being so rude because she found out right after the wedding that Casey had slept with her boyfriend recently. I balked at the news, but but then I thought about it. My sister was clearly a liar. At this point, I couldn't put anything past her. But why the heck would she sleep with Tyra's man and then invite her to a bridesmaid at her wedding? When I questioned this aloud, Detective Rogers' face reddened. Then he explained that Tyra told him that she had slept with one of Casey's exes in the past, so it was revenge. At this point, I checked it out. What about Jimmy? I asked. He fled the country. Detective Rogers sighed. Katrina, I know this isn't what you want to hear, but we found the murder weapon in Troy's possession. There's no other explanation for that. We don't give a care what you found. My shoulders slumped in defeat, and seeing the story on the news so soon after we heard it broke me. What did the police have the media on speed dial? I still didn't believe it at first, but then when the newscaster said that they found the murder weapon wrapped in a towel in his closet, my dishonest dissipated and I freaked out. Troy did this. Troy unalived my sister. Troy murdered Casey. He stabbed her 6 times, and then he R-worded her before he did it. Once the news segment ended, I went to my room, closed the door, and sobbed. I've been sleeping with the murderer, and what feels like hours of hiccuping and snotting, I drift to sleep only for my eyes to shoot back up sometime later with the revelation. This can't be right. I know I've already been over this and my thoughts are running wild, but something isn't right. Troy was with me the night of the murder. Although he left once after I fell asleep, there's no way he had enough time to get to my sister's house, bring her to the park, unalive her, and then come back. I wasn't asleep that long. Was I? It can't be. I racked my brain trying to come up with answers for how Troy could have done this. In my heart, I still want to believe he's innocent. But you knew he was hiding something. Yes, but of this magnitude, it doesn't make sense. Troy's not an unaliver. He may have made mistakes in the past, stealing cars and egging houses, but he's not a serious criminal. Plus, all the stuff happened in his younger years. To my knowledge, Troy never been arrested as an adult. Everyone's done stupid things as a kid. Mom knocks on my door, interrupting my thoughts. Trina, she says, and I call out for her to come in. She stands in the doorway and stares at me for a long time. Honey, I know you're distraught. I scoff in response. Believe me, I am too. I love that boy like a son. I can't believe he would do this to us, to Casey, especially with the child they have together. My mind goes to baby Casey. She's asked for her mommy a few times since she's been with us, and everyone sort of skirts around the issue. No one wants to be the one to tell her what happened when we know the discussion is coming soon. Mommy shakes her head. Mom shakes her head as if breaking herself from wondering thoughts. Anyway, I came here to talk to you about something. I tense, feeling like I should know what's coming. Ain't no tears left to cry. Ooh, yeah. She sighs. We need to get moving with the arrangements. A tear slips down her cheek. The words cut a dull ache in my chest. This is the part that I want nothing to do with. I don't want to go to my sister's funeral, much less plan it. I can't see her like that. Can we talk about it in the morning? I ask, and my tone comes out harsher than I intended, but Mom doesn't seem upset. Okay, that's fine, she says, and then she closes the door. If you're just joining, we're reading The Bridesmaid by Tanisha Stewart. Chapter 30, Troy. I'm screwed. All the evidence points to me. I was one of the last people to see her. The mortar weapon was found in my house and I have motive. All the time I spent lamenting about what I had done, only to be arrested and soon to be charged with something I hadn't done. Who did this to me? I'm sitting in my jail cell awaiting arrangement. They believe in the guy who R-word and murdered they believe I'm the guy who R-word and murdered Casey. Stabbed her 6 times. My stomach turns at the thought of that. Although I gave her those pills, I would never do something so gruesome. But how did the knife get in my house? Resting my head in my hands, I wonder what I'm going to do. My parents were furious when I called them asking for them to bail me out. This is what I was afraid of, Dad said, and I couldn't do anything but sink in shame. He had tried to help me when Casey first disappeared. He gave me a clear way out, but I didn't take it. Why am I so stupid? That Jimmy kid skipped the country directly after doing his dirt. He's probably still in Montenegro chilling like nothing happened. For all I know, he's the one who unalived Casey and then somehow got the knife into my house. But how? That's the $1,000,000 question I can't begin to answer. My bail hearing is scheduled for Monday, but in the meantime, I'm at the whim of the detectives, forced to answer their circle of questions until my head explodes. They keep asking the same things over and over as my answers will change. I'll do anything to make it stop. I even broke down and told them what I did that night with the pills in hopes that would help my case. But they didn't believe me. No drugs were found in her system, Detective Rogers said. Either you're lying to try to somehow distract us from the matter at hand, or somebody slipped you some sugar pills, kid. Since I wasn't lying, it must have been the latter. Finding out that I was played out of $500 makes me feel better and worse at the same time. Better because I obviously really had nothing to do with her death now that I know this, but also worse because someone is framing me and there isn't nothing I can do about it. These questions are torturous. Detective keeps going at me one by one and then together. One leaves the room for a while, then the other one comes back with more questions, then the other does the same. It's a nightmare. On Detective Brody's third time leaving and coming back, she's holding some staple papers in her hand. She gives Detective Rogers a brief look and then they both leave the room. I tense. Something is happening. Why would they both leave? What did they find out? Have they realized this is all a mistake and now they're about to apologize and set me free? If so, I'm suing the police station for all they have, effing incompetent a-holes. When they return to the room, I study their faces. Neither betrays a clue of what is happening. Mr. Baker, we found something interesting. Detective Rogers starts and then looks at his partner. My body tenses as I await more potentially bad news. Detective Brady continues the conversation. It turns out you're not the daddy after all. Of baby Casey, that is. Blood rushes to my ears, my heart plummets in my chest. What? What do they mean I'm not the father? This throws me completely off guard. I never thought the little girl was mine, but I did assume she was because me and Casey were together. But I'm not the father? Are you sure? I say, not believing my ears. Detective Rogers' lips form a thin line. We're sure. 0% match. How the F? I sit back in my seat completely floored. Then it hits me. Who the H was I about to marry? Casey not only lied about being pregnant by me in the first place, but she carried He hid completely from me the whole time we were together. I don't even know what to think anymore. Who is the father then? I asked in bewilderment. Jimmy? The room is silent for a moment. We have no way of knowing that, says Detective Rogers, but we're working to get him back to the United States. You need to work harder then. The words fly from my mouth before I have no position to make demands. But how can they still hold me here after proving I'm not the baby Casey's father? Neither detective responds to my outburst. I hope they do get Jimmy back here and they somehow find him guilty so I can leave this godforsaken place. I swear I'll never do a stupid thing again. Where does this leave me? What if detectives are in on it? I promise you, because they live too shady for me. Hope rises in me, but quickly falters when I get my response. Detective Roger scoffed. Same place you are now. We found a murder weapon in your closet. Did you forget that? No, I didn't, but like I told you before, that isn't mine. How did it get in your closet then? Detective Brady asked. Did the tooth fairy drop it off? More silence after that question. The walls close in on me and I struggle to face my new reality. Someone has framed me for murder. The person who did it is apparently in Montenegro living his best life, and I'm sitting in jail waiting for arrangement. But how did Jimmy get into the house? Did Casey do this to me? Was she cheating on me with Jimmy? Only he didn't know about us, and then he somehow found out, and now he's using me as the scapegoat for his crime. This is the only explanation I could think of for what's happening. Again, I ask myself, how did Jimmy get in my house? Chills go down my spine as it hits me that Casey has a spare key. A sense of hope washes over me as if I can get the detectives to understand that Jimmy is their guy. Maybe they'll let me go. I blurt out my theory about the key. As if my words barely register, Detective Rogers answered in a half-hearted response. Well, look into that. Look into that. What the F? I just gave them the answer. I look at Detective Brady for answers, but she barely meets my eyes. It's as if the case is already closed for her and she's ready to charge me so that they can send me up the river. They'll probably share celebratory drinks after my conviction while I serve a sentence for something I didn't do. All because the other guy was smart enough to skip this country. Is this how our justice system works? I'm disgusted with the detectives, but neither of them seems to care. Why would they? They have all the power. It's their word against mine, and no one will take me serious if one guy is out of sight and I'm sitting here. The obvious answer would be to let me take the fall. The detective keeps asking questions and I answer, but my heart is no longer into my original idea to try to convince them of my innocence. This is going nowhere. My head is about to explode. Chapter 31, Katrina. I stand in the mirror wearing a simple black dress. Today is going to be the worst day of my life. I can feel it. I don't want to do this. I don't want to see my sister lying in a casket. I knock sounds at my bedroom door. I let out a brief chuckle at the thought that I've all but moved back into my parents' house. I've been using vacation time for work since this whole thing started, but they'll be expecting me back soon if I want to keep my job. How am I supposed to go back to work and have a normal life after this? I will never be the same. None of us will. The knock sounds again. Shaking my head, I swipe a tear and turn towards it. Come in. The door opens and it's Mom's, who walks in with baby Casey, who's wearing her own black dress. The breath catches in my throat at the sight of the little girl, my sister's baby. She's so beautiful. It's like we still have a piece of Casey with us, despite her being gone. Bitterness rises to my throat at the thought that Casey and I will never get to share moments with baby Casey. My sister never got to introduce the baby to the family, though Jimmy apparently had the presence of mind to drop her off to us. But I don't give him too much credit because he's probably the one who unalived my sister. Why else would he drop baby Casey off and flee the country? As far as the detectives are saying, still hasn't come back. You think he coming back? They are saying that he doesn't appear to have family out of Montenegro, though, so it may be a matter of time before he returns unless someone is funding his departure. Does she look pretty? Doesn't she look pretty? Mom asks, beaming through her tears. I offer a faint smile. Yes, she is such a beautiful girl, just like her mommy. Baby Casey black dress stops at the knees with frills at the bottom. She's wearing black tights with Mary Jane's, and Mom has cornrowed her hair in a cute design. Stars are all over her head, and she has two braids coming down the front of her face with beads at the bottom. The braids going down the back of her head also have beads at the tips. So precious, I say, and I'm overcome with emotion. We told baby Casey yesterday what happened to her mother. She cried a little, but none of us thinks that she really understands what death means. Of course she doesn't. She's only 3 years old. Shall we get a move on? Mom suggested, looking like she's barely holding her emotions inside. I nod, and we leave baby Casey out of my room and down the stairs, where Dad is sitting in his black suit in the living room, wearing a forlorn expression. He stands when he sees us, looking like he's ready to get this over. Where Dad has never been an overly emotional man, but I can tell that what's happening is destroying him. He often mumbles to himself, and I hear it at night, shuffling through the house like he can't sleep. I can't sleep either. None of us can, with everything going on. It's like we all been holding our breath until we find out what really happened to my sister that night. I'm praying this investigation doesn't take years like it does for some family. I don't know how I can survive that. As we're leaving the house, Nate's car is pulling up. I almost roll my eyes. Nate seems to be in such a better mood ever since he cleared by the police. He claims to be loving my sister so much, yet as soon as the detectives no longer seem interested in questioning him, suddenly his expressions become brighter and his tone much lighthearted. Also, gone are the tears. My expression hardens. Why the drastic change? An eerie feeling sweeps through me, and I almost go to investigate mode again, but I remind myself that I can't interfere with the detective's jobs. If they clear Nate, it must mean he's innocent, despite his erratic behavior. Still, I stalk past him to my parents' car without saying anything, just in case he is guilty. What's her problem? I hear him asking Dad. I look back and Dad shakes his head, flipping his hand up at Nate like he doesn't give a rat's butt about his question. My heart smiles as a look of disappointment sweeps across Nate's face. Just like Casey was always Mom's golden child, Nate was Dad's, the son he never had. But now both of my parents' attention has been on me. As soon as I have that thought, I feel like a scum of the earth. Turning away from the window, I stare straight ahead, waiting for everyone else to get to the car. I'll be sitting in the back seat next to baby Casey while Dad drives and Mom sits beside him, and Nate will follow us to the church, the same church that was supposed to hold my sister's wedding, agreed to her funeral. I'm hoping a lot of people show up. My sister wasn't exactly a saint, but she overall was a good-hearted person. Our close relatives should be there, but I'm hoping other people Casey knew also shows up. It would be good to see a lot of people. It will show that Casey made her impact on this world despite having left it so soon. We pulled up to the church, and judging from the cars in the parking lot, there's a decent turnout. Relief floods my veins. I'm probably worried about the wrong things by hoping my sister's funeral was packed, but still, after such a horrific death, she's got to have some sort of vindication. We enter the church and immediately escorted to the front pews. Casey's casket is up front. I don't want to approach it, but have no choice. The closer we get, the more I can make out her peaceful-looking figure. Dad is the first of us to view her body. He stands frozen in place for a long time, then he takes a heavy breath and shuffles to his seat, swiping tears away with the handkerchief. I should have brought one of those. My mind was so frazzled this morning, I wasn't thinking. Mom and baby Casey go next, and Mom swoons, causing Dad to rush to his feet to hold her steady. A loud wail escapes her lips, and I can't take it. I'm not even to the castle yet, but I burst into a fit of sobs. Baby Casey also began screaming and crying, and probably not from understanding what's going on, that there's no one to hold me as I cry. Then I feel Nate's burly arms wrap around me. Throat filled with disgust, I roughly push him away, leaving him dumbfounded. Jocelyn gets up from her seat and rushes towards me, wrapping her arms around me and rocking me back and forth. Tears stream down both of our faces. It's okay, Katrina, she says with a voice full of heavy emotion. It's okay. Joshua holds me till I calm down. By the time me crying and fit is over, Nate has already seen my sister and gone to his seat, so it's my turn. I look at Jocelyn and she seems to understand the assignment. She nods and holds my hand as we walk forward. I'm squeezing her fingers so tight that I'm probably cutting off her circulation, but she doesn't seem to mind. We went to the casket, and there she is. Casey looks so beautiful in her white dress, a pink flower attached to her bosom. Her hands are clasped over her midsection, and another wave of sobs escapes me. Casey, I say, barely able to breathe. Casey, I can't live through this. I can't do this. I can't. How can I live without her? Why would she take it from us? I can't even feel sorry for her because you was literally sleeping with her man slash your man and like behind her back. Like, I mean, Casey wasn't no picnic either, but dang. Joshua holds me steady as I let it out. I don't know how long we've been up there, but I don't want to leave. I don't want to let her go. Sometime later, I'm able to calm myself enough to move away from the casket. When I turn to our rows of pews, my anger is immediately reignited. Tyra had the audacity to be sitting 2 rows behind our set of pews. What the F are you doing at my sister's funeral? I screech. My eyes going wild and raging course through my veins. I lunge forward, not thinking about where I am and how this is not the time or place, but thankfully Johnson serves as a voice of reason. Come on, Katrina. One of the ushers is helping her hold me back. I come to my senses and almost crumble, but I'm able to keep my composure. Thankfully, Tyra takes the hint and leaves. Her 2 friends who came with her leaving too. Baby Casey is sitting in Nate's lap, which he sees my look of fury. He seems confused, but quickly hands her to me, and I hold her in my lap at the other end of the pew from him, focusing on her for the rest of the service. Songs, memorable stories, and a sermon from the pastor sailed clean by my head. I'm so discombobulated I can barely function. Yesterday I planned to say a few words about my sister, but today I can't compute. Once the service is over, we head to the cemetery, but by that time, I'm completely numb. My mind is another place. I have nothing left to give. The ceremony at the cemetery goes by like a blur, and before I know it, I'm walking back to my parents' car. I'm holding baby Casey's hands as I walk. I haven't let her go since the funeral. She's my only lifeline. Spotting the detectives as we head towards the car, I stop my tracks, blood rushing to my ears. Then I abruptly shift directions, stalking towards them, practically dragging baby Casey with me. They both look surprised at me approaching them out of nowhere. Everything okay, Katrina? Detective Rogers asks, looking down at the baby Casey before focusing on me. You need to question Tyra again? I say through gritted teeth. They look at each other. You need you need to question Tyra again, I say through gritted teeth. They look at each other, then Detective Brady takes a few moments before she responds. Katrina, you have to allow this investigation to take its course. We've already cleared Tyra. As we told you, we're evaluating all possible leads. Bull crap, I say, my nostrils flaring. You got Troy locked up when there's no way he did it. I told you he was with me that night. Tyra did this. My voice is rising so high in octave, I'm borderline hysterical. Tyra did this, I repeat. I don't care about that BS story she told you. I sound too convenient for me. Her and that B, Jimmy, who you can't seem to get back to the United States, they did this, not Troy. Tyra did this. Tyra and Jimmy. My head is nodding uncontrollably as I speak, and I feel like I'm losing my mind. Part of me knows that I'm not making sense, but I can't help it. Why did this B show up to my sister's funeral? There has to be a deeper explanation. By now, a small crowd is forming around us. Detective Rogers holds his hands up to let everyone know we're fine, but I would do anything to wipe that cool and collected look off of his face. A-hole, how could he be calm when my sister's body is being lowered into a hole? Mom and Dad approach us. Come on, Katrina, Mom says. I turn back and see that Edgar and Nate have joined them. Though Nate is avoiding my eyes, Jeff is also there, along with Jocelyn. I turn to my mother. Mom, my vision blurs with tears. Mom, my voice cracks. You have to tell them. A pained expression crosses her face like she understands my lapse in insanity. Mom steps towards me and extends her arm. I look back at the detectives who are standing with looks of concern, waiting for me to leave with my family. I take a deep breath to calm myself, then swallow before nodding and walk over to Mom, still holding baby Casey's hand. The little girl seems to have gone mute since the funeral, and now we're facing another problem. How will we help her grieve her mother? I don't know nothing about child grief. Baby Casey's the one who will probably suffer the most out of all of this. We head back to my parents' car, and it's time to go to the repast. I can't either, but I'll be just as emotional if I lost a sister that I don't get along with. That makes sense. Cause I mean, like they had a relationship at some point, and then I know like whenever whenever you have like a bad interaction with somebody and they passes away, that's gonna stay with you forever. Chapter 32, Troy. I've lost all semblance of insanity the more time I spent waiting for my arrangement. They told me that it would be done in a few days, but then there was some BS delay, and now they are saying I'm supposed to be in the morning. I wasn't allowed to go to Casey's funeral. When I heard the news, I stripped something from me, something I can't describe. No, I wasn't in love with her, and yes, I was involved in a full-blown affair with her sister, but I still had love for Casey despite everything. I didn't like some of her ways, but she wasn't all bad. Casey was wild and funny, characteristics I sometimes wish Trina possessed, though I would never say that to her face. If everything went another way, I would feel me and Casey would have been cool as brother and sister-in-law, but it's my fault our relationship didn't turn out that way. I was too busy trying to make Katrina jealous and exhibiting toxic behaviors to realize I was doing more harm than good. Being charged with first-degree murder definitely sobered me up, and all the time I spent in my cell, I've done nothing to do but think about where my life went wrong and how I've made a series of bad decisions. I've always had a rebellious streak, getting into mischief at school and then engaging in petty crimes as a teen. Although I thought I'd wisen up as an adult, I've come to realize I haven't. What was I doing messing with two sisters? And for 4 years, is wrong with me? If I had broken up with Casey the night she introduced me to her family, none of this would have happened. The thought isn't completely rational because still would Casey could still have gotten murdered, but it wouldn't be attached to the circumstances we have now. I carried on a rebound relationship while engaging in a toxic affair with the woman I really loved. I wasn't thinking about how much time was passing because I was too busy wasting it. But hindsight is 2020. If by the stroke of a miracle I don't go down for this, I promise to be a better man. If Katrina will have me, I'll do a complete 180. No more games, no more stupid stuff. I'll be serious. I'll settle down, build a future for us, and maybe we can get married and have kids of our own. I allowed that thought to linger for several moments before scoffing at my delusion. There's no way in H that they're gonna let me out of here. The murder weapon was found in my house, point blank. My lawyers say that I might get off if I plead not guilty and go to trial. And of course I'm going to do that because I'm not guilty. But in my heart I know it's over for me. Though I didn't do this thing, all of my stupid actions have led me to this point. I have no one to blame but myself. They finally come to escort me to the courthouse. My heart pounds the entire way there, hoping people will show up for me. Though I've been trying to put on a brave face, inside I'm scared crapless. I know how to hold my own, but how will I survive life in prison if they throw the book at me? That's not even getting to the trial. All the question I've endured has exhausted me, but the trial's bound to be 10 times worse. All I go through of all of that just to be found guilty, and then they'll lock me up and throw away the key. When we get to the courtroom, I scan the room and really floods my veins. My boys Edgar and Jeff are there, and my heart drops when I see Katrina. My eyes grow glassy as I nod at her. Her face is a mirror of mine, and she nods back at me. That's all I need. Her presence brings peace to my heart. Even if I don't survive the trial, knowing that she stuck by me means everything. I want to curl up in a ball and cry. On the outside, I'm a grown man with a strong demeanor and a stony expression, but on the inside, I'm a scared little boy. I continue to scan the room, my peace slightly waning when I see Mom, but Dad's not with her. I shoot her a questioning look, but she shakes her head, turning away. My heart drops yet again. My father has abandoned me. On my deepest moment of need, he's not here. Dang. My body goes numb as my mind fills with flashbacks. All the times I've disappointed him, all those weary expressions, all the times he's yelled at me, urging me to stand up and do better. And now he's given up on me, and it's all my fault. All he ever tried to do was teach me man and be responsible, and I blew it, just like I've blown everything else in my life. Another source of deep regret. Katrina's parents are on the prosecutor's side of the courtroom, along with Nate. I avoid their eyes but catch Nate sneering in my direction. If I could, I would knock his effing head off his shoulders like I should have done a long time ago. I hit him with a scornful expression but turn my head when I realize it's no use. I take a deep breath as I'm standing next to my lawyer waiting to plead not guilty. Thankfully, the judge arrives on time and soon the arrangement begins. Everyone is introduced and my ears grow hot when I'm announced as the defendant. Are we ready, counselors? The judge asks, and I'm expecting the prosecutor to proceed with the charges so I can enter my plea, but she doesn't. Instead, her response to the judge causes my mind to careen into shock. Judge, we are moving to withdraw the charge of first-degree murder from Troy Baker. Once I register the words, my world begins spinning on its axis. She said, "What? Drop the charges?" I stare back at the I stare at the prosecutor, then the judge, then back at the prosecutor again. I wait for the other shoe to drop, for her to say that she made a mistake, shuffle through her papers, and realize she's talking about the wrong case. My jaw hangs open in shock as she whispers, "Fill the room." The judge bangs her gavel. Order in the court. Counsel, on what grounds do you wish to drop the charges? The prosecutor takes a deep breath before responding, "Judge, we have received new information that has led us to another suspect who's been detained." Or his cousin, who was Tyra's boyfriend. I know. I think I don't know at this point, right? Katrina slept with his cousin, but it could be the same cousin who could have been Tyra's boyfriend. I don't know. That's a connection. Um, Before I can blink, the judge is talking again. In the matter of the state against Troy Baker, you request to withdraw the charge of first degree murder and hereby granted. Mr. Baker, you are free to go. Court is adjourned. What? I'm dreaming. I have to be dreaming. There's no way the prosecutor just let me off. How? Why? Jimmy? I blurt, looking at my lawyer, and I believe in my ears when I say it. He appears just as confused as me, but he says he's going to get to the bottom of this. He's going to have a word with the prosecutor while I stare in stunned silence. Jimmy was dumb enough to come back to the country. When my lawyer returns to me with a winning smile on his face, the doubts in my mind begin to dissipate. Then I floated on the cloud as reality sets in, ready to celebrate my freedom until I find out who the new suspect is. Once I do, my entire world is shattered again. Chapter 33. Chester. Who the heck is Chester? I'm standing on pins and needles waiting for them to hurry up and say that I can board the plane. I need to get the H out of this country, and once I do, I'm never coming back. That little bee got what she deserved. If she had just, things didn't have to turn out this way, but they did. We all have to accept our losses when we encounter them and move on. I sure did. I've been doing it all my life. But once I got the call this morning, I knew what I had to do. It's good to have friends in high places, especially those in law enforcement. It's also helpful to have money, which for me, there is no shortage. I'm sitting on millions in my U.S. accounts alone, and that's not counting my offshore accounts no one knows about. My wife will likely get the U.S. money once everything dies down, but whatever, not like that I'll need it anyway. I'm classing the handle to my suitcase, waiting for the first class to board. Although I miss my Armani suits, I'll get new ones where I'm going. Or better yet, F the suits. I may not feel like being stuck in the office all day anyway. Maybe I'll turn over a new leaf once I'm gone, getting into surfing. I'm not in bad shape. Shouldn't be too hard to learn. What's taking them so long? My toes can already feel the soft sands of the Cuban beach I'm headed to. I purchased the villas a few years back and it's already equipped with service and the like. I'll take my time, maybe set up a new business under a different company name, and no one will be the wiser. Eventually, Maria will get her previous divorce and be able to move on with her life and my money. She'll be paid handsomely for her troubles of dealing with me. Finally, they announced first class. About dang time, I huff, moving forward to show my passport and get on. I'm one step away from the flight attendant with a loud voice sweeps through the crowd. Freeze, he yells, and for a split second, I'm thinking bolting, but I know that there's nowhere I can go. I stare at the flight attendant for a split second before acknowledging I've been caught. Dang. I slowly drop the suitcase and raise my hands, turning around to face the detectives. The male detective's face is contorted with anger as he approaches me. Going somewhere? He sneers, then wrenches my arm behind my back while the female detective reads me my rights. Blah, blah, blah. I already know what this is about. I was almost scot free. When I received the call this morning from my friend at the police station, I immediately knew what to do. After making up a BS excuse to Maria about the company having an emergency executive meeting, I was on my way to the airport. The flight was set to leave at the same time Troy's arrangement started. I would have been up in the air and out of the country before anyone batted an eye. But now my plan has been ruined, which means that bee must have flipped on me and went around running her mouth. Chapter 34. Jocelyn. I met Chester through Casey and immediately fell in love. Despite his salt and pepper beard, he was the finest man I ever seen. How the F does she keep pulling these dudes? I secretly questioned when Casey introduced me and Chester a few days after raving about his bedroom skills. Troy holds his own and can make me come back to back, but his daddy. Oh, Jesus. I'm gonna read that again. Troy holds his own and can make me come back to back, but his daddy, dang Jossie, Casey said and began twerking like it was cute. Casey was a 304, point blank. She claimed she was settling down when she met Troy, but I knew she was only fooling herself. Sooner or later, she would get bored and go out and find another man to play with. Meanwhile, I was sitting here with a dry phone and no prospects in sight. Unlike Casey, I was a woman with morals and integrity. Casey would cheat on a dude, a a good dude at that, with a snap of a finger, but I couldn't find a good man to save my life. I grew jealous of the little gifts Troy would give her, but when Chester stepped into the picture, stuff went too far. Oh, heck to the now! Now Casey owned a Tesla she couldn't drive in Massachusetts since she didn't want her family to know who she was sleeping with. Then she started getting all these bags and clothes she had to hide too. When she popped up pregnant, I almost lost it. Dang, B, you ever heard of birth control? I said when she initially came to me crying about the news. I wasn't trying to be insensitive, but still, Casey was pregnant and didn't know who the father was, Troy or his father, Chester. Oh my goodness. That B was a real piece of work. After her pregnancy announcement, somehow she got her boss to allow her to do a 6-month work assignment in New Jersey. She timed it just right as she would leave Massachusetts before she started showing, then return after the baby was born. While she was working in New Jersey, she was effing Chester in New York, FaceTiming Troy in Massachusetts, and visiting me in Philly. That girl was way too busy for my liking, but I didn't say anything about it. Chester was a very wealthy man. He had branches for his firm in Massachusetts, Connecticut, and New York. I always questioned why Troy wasn't brought into the company to take over one of the branches for his father, until I met the dude and realized he was dumber than a bag of rocks. No wonder Casey preferred Chester over his son. Troy had money, but Chester had wealth. They both had charm, but Chester was more intelligent. And from what Casey said, Chester did things in the bedroom that made her want to climb the walls, while Troy was meh compared to him. You did. I didn't disagree. I just didn't know how he was going to get back here. I was completely, and that's why I was like, he the one that probably planted the murder weapon. Um, I was completely thrown for a loop when Casey called me at 3 o'clock in the morning saying she was in labor and needed me to bring her to Massachusetts. Why, Casey? I said, fuming that she had woken me up at this hour for some BS. Please, Josie, she whined in my ear. The baby is coming and I have to be home to give birth to her. I sighed and brought my butt to New Jersey to pick her up, then drove her to Massachusetts, feeling like a dang fool the whole time. Casey was anxious the entire way there, holding onto the door handle and clenching her legs together like she was trying to keep the baby in as long as she could. I was going to question her on why it was important for her to have the baby in Massachusetts, but I didn't say anything, figuring maybe she wanted Troy there, or maybe she was going to use this opportunity to invite both men to the birth and have a DNA test done to determine the father. That was some scandalous stuff, but to each of their own. I would be there for her every bit of I would be there for every bit of the tea, so I chose to stay with her through the process. I think it's after the DNA test. After they took the DNA and found out that it was neither one of them, or that it wasn't Troy, or there was a whistleblower. Maybe Jocelyn told the detectives what happened, like she couldn't keep it in no longer. Um, Baby Casey was born less than an hour after we arrived, but to my surprise, no one else showed. Do you want me to call your mother or sister? I asked, feeling awkward that I was her only support system. A wild look crossed her eyes. No, she said it so forcefully it scared me. I shook my head and realized I will never understand Casey. She went through all of this trouble to have her baby at home just for nobody to be there. My mind was going in circles, worrying about this girl. After she cleared from the hospital, to my surprise, Casey's butt was on her way right back to New Jersey. I had to say something. Then, okay, what was this all about in Massachusetts? I asked when we got back to the hotel. She was saying that. Casey shook her head, not willing to offer me an explanation. I'll explain later, she said, but she never did. 2 weeks later, she showed up on my doorstep in Philly, baby Casey in tow. Jossie, she said, tears streaming from her eyes, I need your help. Before I knew it, I became a living babysitter. Casey handed me $100,000 in cash and asked me to watch her daughter during the week, and she would be here on the weekends. Casey, what the F? I said after she finished her tear-filled request. I'm not taking care of your baby. That's when she lost it. Jossie, please, you're the only one that I can depend on. I need your help. I wouldn't ask if there was another way. By this time, I thought the bee must have been on drugs or something, but judging from Casey's healthy appearance, she couldn't have been. Though I didn't want to do it, my dumb butt agreed to take the money, and I took the money. I quit my job since $100,000 is more than twice my annual salary, and Casey promised more. I figured babysitting the kid would be fun. I would buy my own clothes, cars, and bags like Casey did. Plus, I didn't have to work. F it, I was set. Then when Chester knocked on my door less than a week later out of the blue, I was thrown for a loop. Hello, I believe in my eyes. How did he get my address? Chester's expression was grim. I need to see my daughter, he said, and the look in his eyes told me he did not come to play. I want no parts of whatever drama was unfolding between my friend and her sugar daddy, but I was half afraid of Chester, half turned on by the rough way he spoke to me. I let him in and he went to see baby Casey, holding her in his arms for a long time. He was so caring and gentle with her. I wanted that for myself, to have a man get me pregnant and then dote on my child like Chester was doing with baby Casey. When Chester put her back in her bassinet, he turned to me. You been taking care of her? He asked. I nodded. Casey been paying you? I nodded again. A little, I added, in case he was going to give me more. Chester's lips curved into a seductive smile and he bit his bottom lip. Thank you. I really appreciate that. You seem like you would be much better mother than her anyway. That is true. That is true. Um, which they did leave that part out. We didn't get the DNA results. Um, like Maria got some explaining to do. Um, And then again, he probably knew that he wasn't Chester daddy too. You know what? Let's get through this. We got about like 50 pages, I think. That comment was hurtful considering Casey was still my friend, but the look of desire Chester was giving me didn't let me question it. I've been doing my best, I said, switching my stance to poke my chest out a little. Casey's curves were more pronounced than mine, but I was working with a little something. Those bedroom eyes never left mine. Is there anything you need? He said. He asked, stepping closer as he spoke. Anything at all? My body grew hot at the way that he was creeping up on me. I don't think. Before I knew it, his lips were on mine and he had taken my breath away. Something rocked over me and I hungrily devoured him like he was doing to me. Soon clothes were flying everywhere and I was completely naked with Chester plunging deep into my walls. Eyes widened with shock and my mouth hanging open with an old expression. I finally learned what Casey had been talking about. And whether it's your man or your side man, that's why you don't go around telling your girlfriends how your man is in bed. Chapter 35, Jocelyn. Chester left me a wad of cash on his way out. At first, I felt like a cheap WHORE until I saw how many hundreds there were in the stack. I thought about it. Part of me was guilty because Casey obviously felt something for him if she carried his child, but the other part was indifferent. Casey ran through dudes like a supermarket. Why couldn't this be my turn with the good man? Plus, Chester was correct in what he did say about me being a better mother than Casey. She left her baby with me 5 days a week and only came to see her on the weekends. Who does that? Unfit was the word. In the end, I decided that since that I was sacrificing time and effort while taking care of this child, I should be able to have my cake and eat it too. Casey might be mad if she found out, but she would get over it and find another dude. Chester was mine. So it began. Chester would F me senseless almost every night while baby Casey was sleeping, and during the daytime, I would nourish and care for that sweet girl like she was my own. It became so natural, I almost felt like she was my baby until Casey would show up on the weekends to break me from my delusion. I had to admit, Casey did her best with her circumstances. She FaceTimed for at least an hour every night and showed up, every weekend like clockwork to see her baby. She made up some lie to her family about the company she was working for paying her to do jobs on the weekends. I didn't know why she felt the need to hide her child from her family. If she made a mistake, why not just tell them? But I didn't question it. Plus, how was Troy not suspecting anything with her being gone every weekend? Casey was moving reckless and sooner or later stuff would hit the fan. But that was none of my business. She was giving me money every week like she promised, so I kept my mouth shut. Girl, say it again for the ladies in the back. I never felt so free in my life, and this little baby was I had to thank for it. Baby Casey and I grew extremely close. I would teach her things, and she would soak it up like a sponge. Casey was elated that I was taking on so well with her child, and Chester was too. We would lay in bed in each other's arms every night after hot and heavy lovemaking. He would stare in my eyes and tell me he adored me. About a year into our arrangement, I wanted more. Baby Casey was growing up fast, and soon it would be time to start thinking about preschool and other arrangements. Casey didn't seem to have intentions of switching up the plan anytime soon, but I was growing restless. Though I knew Chester and Casey were still effing, in my heart I believed he loved me. I was the one nurturing and caring for his child. After all, I was the one putting in work, while Casey showed up 2 days a week like she did something. One night, I broached the subject. Babe, I said, tracing a circle on his chest. He murmured half asleep. I know that he would get up and leave soon since he had to go home to his wife, Maria. At first, I questioned, how you a side chick? You're not even like the second side. You the third side. Well, you're not even the first side. You the second side. At first, I questioned how she went through all of this without suspecting her husband of cheating, but one day Chester answered the question before I had to ask. His wife called his phone and he swiped to reject it, which surprised me. Shouldn't you answer that? I asked, but he shook his head. We have an arrangement, he announced, and we left it at that. At first, I couldn't believe it, but when I thought about it, I realized why his wife might agree to such a thing. Chester was laced with money. Homegirl probably wasn't ready to give up that lifestyle. Crap, now that I had a taste of it, I wouldn't give it up either. I never thought of her again. I continued tracing Chester's chest as I asked my questions, but carefully worded each question. What are we going to do about the future? His eyes opened wider, and he grabbed my hand to remove it from his chest. What future? He said, and it was such a tone of finality, it shredded my heart in half. My eyes pooled with tears, but Chester didn't seem to notice. He sat up in bed and he put his clothes on like he did every night, not bothering to look at me as he threw a wad of cash on the nightstand and left my apartment. Once he was gone, I sat there in my emotions for a long time before something snapped within me. Who the F did this N-word think he was? Next scene. A few weeks passed and Chester and I continued like our prior conversation hadn't happened until one day I couldn't take it anymore. So you're really going to keep effing me and Casey at the same time, then go home to your wife. He barely looked at me while re-buttoning his shirt. Don't start, Jocelyn. No, I'm going to start it, and we're going to finish it today, Chester. I don't know who you think I am, but you got me effed up. I stalked over to him to look at me while he was talking to me, but I heard the slap and saw the tears before I felt the impact. Looking up from my now seated position, I was stunned. This old dude put his hands on me. Seeing red, I leaped to my feet, ready to rain blows all over him, but he easily subdued me. One swipe of the arms and legs, and I was lying on the couch with his hands tightly gripping my throat. Listen here, little B, he said with darkness in his gaze. My eyes widened with fear because oxygen was swiftly escaping me, and I feared that he could crush my neck within seconds. I grasped at his hands to pull him off, but he was too strong. Don't you ever effing question me, you hear that? Menace laced through his tone. Ever. Once he was satisfied that I seemed to get from him saying he apologized for what happened and would never happen again, I finally realized what was keeping Casey at bay. The N word was beating on her, which meant his butt was crazy. From the looks of it, he was about to start doing the same with me, or so he thought. But one thing Chester didn't realize was I was crazy too. And much worse, I knew how to play the long game and bring a dude to his knees. I had always been smart, and now it was time to put the pieces in place. By the time that I got through with him, Chester wouldn't know what hit him. I started slow, stalking Chester while he was out at discreet locations while Casey and another woman while babysitting Casey was left with the babysitters. When I couldn't find a babysitter, she would come with me. I used rental cars so Chester never noticed me. I compiled tons of footage, pictures of videos of him in all kinds of compromising positions. Chester continued our routine like nothing happened at first. I held strong in my convictions, but after a while my heart opened back up to him. It was like there were two me's. One side was plotting this dude's downfall while the other side was deeply in love. Sometimes I wasn't sure which one was real. When the rehearsal party happened, of course, I was on Chester like white on rice, so I caught the whole park incident on camera. I was shocked he did that to Casey, but the other part of me felt like maybe this was me and Chester's chance at happiness. The love struck side kicked in and reasoned that maybe he was doing this for us. I felt bad for my friend, but now that Casey would be out of the picture, Chester and I could be together. When I approached him as he crept back to the hotel, I confronted him about it, and to my surprise, my suspicions rang true. Chester declared his love and trust for me, and he showed me his trust in the most vulnerable way. He also transferred one of his offshore bank accounts to my name that night, making me $500,000 richer. Taken aback by his loving gesture, I agreed to do whatever it took for us to be together, and I thought our future was sealed. But the next day, when I found out he blocked my number, the old wounds reopened. Now it was time for that N-word to pay. I called up an old friend, Jimmy, who was no stranger to trouble and would do anything for me because he always fiended for my pee. I promised to give it to him if he did me a favor, and he did. So I gave him what he wanted. Then I shipped him to Montenegro and promised to take care of him until it was safe for him to come home. So Jocelyn, the one they want you to think it's Tyra. I mean, even though Jocelyn didn't like actively unalive Casey, dang. And then she was just like at the park, just filming while he stabbed her friend. I can't. At first, he was pissed that I got him wrapped up in this stuff. He hadn't known about what happened to Casey, but now he had no choice. He took the ticket I supplied and bounced like the good little boy he was. Once Chester got back in contact with me, however, and explained that he hadn't blocked me, but he had gotten rid of his phone, I realized I made a bit of a mistake. I told him what I had done with Jimmy, and at first he was upset, but then he reasoned that his absence might work in our favor. Hope was restored until I realized Chester had been keeping his distance too long and making too many excuses not to see me. I was then that I came to grips with the fact that he was playing with me yet again and that he was never going to be with me like he promised. So I put on my thinking cap and hatched another plan. Chapter 36, Casey. That night. Oh, get up. I'm about to teach you a lesson. I'm sitting on the floor as Chester is standing above me. From the look on his face, I can tell I'm in trouble. No one is in the hallway, so no one can come to my defense. Immediately I sober. I'm sorry, I say, but I already know it's no use. He's got that look in his eyes, the one that I know all too well. I open my mouth to try to reason with him again, but before I can speak, he's yanking me by my hair, pulling out my scrunchie in the process. My wild hair partially covering my eyes as Chester proceeds to drag me down the hallway. I yelp in pain and called out for him to stop, but as usual, he's not listening. What I would give for my sister, Nate, or Troy to come down the hall right now, but no one is here to save me. No one is opening their doors to see what's going on. When I consider how thick the walls and doors are in this fancy location, I know why no one is coming to my rescue. They can't hear me. When we get to my room, Chester yanks me up by my hair one last time and throws me across the floor. Why are we doing this? I ask, but Chester's already in zone. He's not hearing me. I'm not entirely convinced even seeing me anymore. As many times as he's done this, I'm not immune to the weight of his blows. The only time since we've been together that he hasn't hit me was when I was pregnant with Casey. During that time, I did a lot of thinking, and that was when I hatched my plan for Troy. The goal was to get him to marry me so that would be protected. Once we tied the knot, I would use my marriage as an excuse to slowly distance myself from Chester. I could easily use Troy as a means to stay far away from him, and with Troy home, he wouldn't be able to come in and hurt me. Chester was known to pop up unannounced when he thought that I might be messing with another man, outside of my relationship with his son. Other times, he stopped by to remind me who was boss. You thought you were cute in the hallway, didn't you? Chester accuses in a threatening tone. I think it's best to remain silent, but I soon learned that it isn't the right choice. He stands before me, unzipped his pants. My nose is busted and hair disheveled, but he never cared about the extent of the damage he does to me. Trigger warnings, because I think this is the R word part, and I'll try to mute any words that seem offensive. My eyes well up with unshed tears, but Chester isn't moved by my pain. Go ahead and make it right, he urges, and I have no choice but to sink down to my knees. When it's done, he sneers at me once last time, then exits the room. As soon as he's gone, something snaps inside of me. I can't take any more of this. I desperately want to be free of him, and I can no longer wait until tomorrow. Jocelyn's room and leave once Jocelyn returned. I already visited the room earlier, and Casey was in there sleeping. She had the baby at the hotel right down the street. As I look in her angelic features, I remind myself that everything that I was doing was for her. When I got pregnant with Casey, I knew if I told people they would likely encourage abortion given my circumstances, but I was already attached. People would likely say that since Chester was abusing me that I was better off not having a child with him. He had too much money and power while I had nothing to stand on, but I would never get rid of my baby. I loved her before our eyes ever met. Something small, beautiful, and delicate was growing inside me, something no one could take from me, someone I could call my own. I cherish every moment I share with my daughter. I will never regret her despite what happened behind the scenes. I changed the plan. I'm not going to call Jocelyn. I'm going to go to her room and get Casey. My only hope after that is that she keeps her mouth shut. As much as I love my best friend and appreciate everything she's done for me, I'm not a complete fool. I know she's sleeping with Chester. I can see the love-struck look in her eyes anytime he's mentioned, which is why this has to be done right. I clean myself up the best that I can in my bathroom using makeup to cover my black eye. There isn't much I can do about the busted lip, but I'm past caring about that at this point. I give myself a once-over in the mirror, then approach the door. Standing in front of it, I take a deep breath and open it, looking outside for Chester first before stepping into the hallway. Halfway to Josh's room, I think better of my decision. Casey was sleeping when I last saw her. It's probably best for me to go home first, then come back here and get her. The only thing that I need to do is get my passport. I don't want to wake her up and risk her crying and Chester somehow hearing. I'm being paranoid, and I know I'm not thinking clearly, but my plan feels cohesive at the moment. When I get back to the hotel, I'll have Jocelyn bring Casey outside. Where we'll go, I don't know yet, but I need to escape, and I can't wait on Troy. I've been so driven to make this plan work, I realized I haven't officially thought it through. I was going to wait till after the wedding to introduce Troy to Casey, but what if he immediately divorced me? Then I'll be back to square one. I shouldn't have hidden her for so long, but with Chester watching my every move, it seems it's been hard to make rational decisions. I'm going home first to pack my essentials and then get my passport. Then I'll come back and get Casey. The ride down the elevator is uneventful. When I walk out into the lobby floor, it's a ghost town, which is expected at this hour. I keep my head down and I walk at a steady pace. The sooner I get home and pack my bags, the sooner I can get out of here. Finally, my car is in sight. I sigh in relief when I see it and click my fob. When I approach the driver's side door, I see my reflection, but a dark figure creeps up behind me, causing me to jump in fear from shock. I turn and see Chester, wearing the same expression he wore earlier. Going somewhere? He taunts. and my hands tremble in fear. He reaches out for my keys and I hand them to him. Go on, get in, he says. How about I come with you? Chapter 37, Casey. Chester pulls up pulls up in front of my house. Was this where you were going? He asks, but I don't answer. Instead, tears of defeat slide down my cheeks. Don't cry now, he says, his tone menacing. I told you about playing with me, but you never seem to listen. He gets out of the car, walks around to my side, and opens the door, extending his hand to help me step out like a gentleman. Chester is anything but a gentleman, and I wish I would have known this before I got involved with him. I stare at his hand, not wanting to exit the car, but because I already know the terror that awaits me inside my own home. At the hotel, at least I had the chance of someone hearing me scream, despite the thick walls, but at home, no one would be there to save me. Chester stretches his hand closer, and I have no choice but to take it. Good girl, he says, and gently closes the door behind me. We walk up to my front door with him in front, leading the way as if he owns the house. My parents gave me and Katrina down payments for our first home, then we reached 25. I had just gotten my house 3 years ago and was proud of it, but that was before I knew that Chester would get a key and make a point to pop up on me every chance he got. He always strategically planned his visits when no one else would be around. I don't know how he always knows where I am. I checked my car and phone for tracking devices and searched the house for cameras, but found none. Maybe he has people spying on me. I don't know. Chester unlocks my door and walks in like he owns the place, then beckons for me to join him. As soon as the door is closed, he backhand me so hard my eyes start ringing. What the F did I tell you? He yells, and I don't have experience with him going from 0 to 100 in a matter of seconds. I would swear that he had a different personality. I back away from him, not wanting to fight tonight. You think this is a game? He says. No, Chester, I'm sorry. Please just let me. Since you like to be cute so much, how about I let you have your independence? He says, cutting me off with an eerie smile. I don't know what he means when he says independence, but whatever it is can't be good. What do you mean? I ask. I think you know exactly what I mean, he says, his eyes boring into mine. Chills go down my spine. Chester, you go on about your business, he finishes. Casey and I will be fine without you. My heart lurches at the sound of my daughter's name. You can't take her from me, he scoffs. I can and I will. What are you going to do to stop me? Besides, you're an unfit mother anyway. Jocelyn sees far more of Casey than you ever do. Matter of fact, where's Casey now? He cups his ear and leans forward as if he's waiting for my response. Once he's satisfied after this point, he straightens his stance and drops his hand. Exactly. So the way I see it, me and my daughter will be out of your hair in no time. Panic rises to my chest. My breath grows labored. Everything Chester is saying is possible. He has money and resources, and he already been sleeping with Jocelyn. He can knock me out right now, go to the hotel and take her, and I'll never see her again, just like I plan to do with him. What's it gonna be, huh? He asks with impatience. Me and Casey, or you go by yourself? I stare at him for a long time, wondering how I never noticed the evil that resides within this man. He's left me no choice. I'll stay. I stay in defeat. He gives me a slug smile as if to say, thought so. Good girl. He gestures towards the living room couch, slipping out of his shoes and unzipping his pants again. Take off your clothes and lay down, he orders, causing my panic to reignite. I stare at him like a deer in headlights. Go ahead, he urges, and I can tell that he's growing impatient again. I want you to lay there and enjoy it like you always do, but I don't want to hear any BS whimpering either. By this time, the room is spinning and I can barely breathe, but I have no choice. I do as he instructs and place my mind on other things. When he finishes, I soar down there. He was worse tonight than he ever before. Go get me a drink, he demands. Then when I don't move fast enough, he snaps his fingers. Hurry up before I get mad. I scramble up, pulling my party dress back over my head and fumbling towards the kitchen. Once there, I grab a bottle of Chester's favorite wine along with a wine glass. Staring at the wives as I pour it, I'm so transfixed that I cause the wine to spill over. What the F are you doing? Chester says, breaking my trance. He gets up and walks towards me, and I place the wine bottle down in a haste. Snatching the biggest knife from the block, I wildly swing it before me, warding him away. My heart falters when I realize he's not even afraid. What are you gonna do with that? He asks with a smirk, then lunges for me. The moment is so quick, I scream and drop the knife, barely missing my already bandaged foot as I run around the center island to get away from him. Of course, he's faster, so before I know it, I'm being yanked by my hair again. My head hits the corner of the counter, and I fall to the floor from the impact. A glass shatters somewhere nearby, and then everything around me goes black. Chapter 38. Chester. My mind is reeling. It happened so fast. One second she was swinging a knife at me, and the next, this is all her effing fault. If she hadn't tried to attack me, none of this would have happened. I stared down at Casey's still body, a pool of blood forming around her head. Dang, what am I going to do? I whispered. My first thought is to see if she's still breathing. I lean down and place a finger under her nose. I hold it there but feel nothing. Then I place two fingers around her neck to check her pulse. I don't feel one. I jerk upward, blood rushing to my ears. Crap, I unalived her. Casey's dead, and I did it in her house. How the heck am I going to get out of this? I go frantic for a few moments because I force myself to calm. I'm a businessman, I remind myself. I've been in sticky situations before and gotten out of them. This should be different. This shouldn't be any different. I scan the room and the idea comes to me. Rushing over to where Casey left her phone on the couch, I tap the screen and do a trick I learned long ago, erasing all her data instantly, then take out the SIM card for good measure, spray the phone to clean it, then wipe it down without touching it again and throw it on the floor near the couch. Then I move quickly, grabbing my phone to make a call. He answers on the second ring. I give him a brief explanation of what I need from him, speaking in code that he will understand. While I'm anxiously awaiting for him to arrive, I wipe down everything I remember touching, making sure to avoid Casey's body like the plague. When he arrives, I see he's followed by instructions. Two other men are with him, and they load her body into the back of a van while I sit in the front passenger seat of his car, waiting for him to finish. We take her to the park. It's not well lit, and the city has been complaining about the shoddy camera footage for a while. The story's already written. Casey stumbled here drunk, and someone took advantage of her. Case closed. Once they lay her body between the bushes, once out of sight in the naked eye, they drive off. I'm not ready to go, though. I need to see her one last time. Oh my goodness. Wait here, I instruct, and he looks at me in bewilderment but does what I say. I pay him to do jobs, not ask questions. Looking both ways before I do so, I creep to where they laid her to say my last words. When I get there, an eerie feeling sweeps through me, but I brush it away. It didn't have to be this way, I say softly, with a bug crawls across Casey's abdomen. I never would have happened if you weren't so stupid. I linger for a few moments, then decide I'm done. I'll take care of Casey, I say, then start to back away. But before I turn, movement catches my eyes. Jaw dropping in shock, I take it in the sight before me. Casey is moaning and starting to stir. I've got to get it out of here. I've got to get out of here. If I do, I can deny ever being here. It will be her word against mine, and I'm a very powerful man. Before I can leave, though, she opens her eyes, then gasps before letting out a whimper. She's going to scream. I can feel it. I can't let this happen. Adrenaline pumping through me, I scramble on top of her, flipping my switchblade at the same time. The hand holding the blade takes on a mind of its own, releasing every frustration I felt tonight into Casey's abdomen. She gasps as I'm plunging in deep into her body, but her reactions don't register. I'm in another place. Before I know it, it's over. Casey isn't moving anymore. Chapter 39. Chester. That bee Jocelyn set me up. When I arrived back at the hotel that night, she approached me before I could get inside the building. Where are you coming from? She asked. But from the shaking expression on her face, I knew she knew already. Crap, that night was getting worse the more I wore on. I tried stalling. Where's my daughter? I asked, but Jocelyn was undeterred. She's with a friend. Where did you come from? I was backed into a corner. We were out in the open and guards patrolled the inside and outside of this hotel. Not to mention there were cameras. If I did something to Jocelyn, I would be spotted. I knew in my gut. My mind flickered to what happened early in the hallway between me and Casey, but I can't think about that right now. There were more pressing matters at hand. I scrambled to find words to explain what happened, but Jocelyn cut me off and what she said was music to my ears. Her expression softened. Come on, Chester. You can tell me. Though it was taken aback that she seemed to be showing a sense of compassion, I didn't fully trust her. But still, if she was being sincere, why not lean into her emotions? Forcing tears to my eyes, I said, I'm sorry, baby, I made a mistake. Her lower lip trembled as she reached out to touch my shoulder. What are you going to do? I sighed as if I overcome with emotion. I don't know, I forced out, putting on the act of a lifetime. It all happened so fast. Jocelyn, you got to believe me. She soothed me. Shh. She stepped closer, encircling her arms around my waist. I want to stiffen at her gesture, but I couldn't. I needed her to keep her mouth shut, and if risking us being seen in public together would do it, it was worth it. The love scandal was much better than a murder trial. She cut my chin. Look at me, she said, and I reluctantly obeyed, still staying in character, though her breath was stinking. Though her breath was stinking. I fought back my sense of repulsion and stared into her eyes. We're going to get through this, she said. But how? I asked. I don't want to go down for this. I was careful not to confess anything directly in case she was pulling a fast one on me. When I saw the love in her eyes, however, I knew that I still had her wrapped in my fingers. Can I trust you? I asked, giving her a look of vulnerability and I knew would melt her heart. She teared up and I knew I had her. Yes, she whispered and nodded, and I kissed her deeply. When we pulled back, she gasped. Chester, her eyes widened with surprise. Then she looked around. Out here? I knew she was referring to the fact that I kissed her in public. Although I originally told her Maria and I had an arrangement, I also informed her that I kept my private activities away from the public eye, so we never been seen together, especially not at a place like this. I had a repetition to uphold, but since I knew I had her, the kiss would only sweeten the deal. I nodded. Yes, it's time. She blinked in shock. Time? She stammered. I nodded again. Yes, I'm sick of Maria. I've been doing a lot of thinking about me and you, about us. Now she looked suspicious, and I almost put my foot in my mouth. Us? She repeated like she didn't believe me. I hurried my explanation. That was what I was trying to explain to her tonight before things got out of hand. But then she kept running her mouth, and I purposely referred to Casey without using her name and left the sentence open so that I wasn't fully confessing but still making her believe my story. Jocelyn believed me. I could feel it. To sweeten the deal further, I threw more money at her. That always did the trick. Once she saw the zeros next to her name in the offshore account, her former best friend was long forgotten. What will we do about baby Casey? She asked. I paused as if contemplating long and hard. We raised her together, I answered, and before she could cut in, I added, no one else knows about her anyway. She was silent and for a few moments before she gave in. Relief flooded my veins, but I knew I needed more. I arranged for her to have the switchblade and told her to get rid of it for me. It was a risky decision, but I needed her to believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that we would be together. Plus, if anything ever came back on me, I could flip it on her and get away scot-free. That was my fatal flaw. Stupidly, I trusted her to do the job, thinking that she loved me and was still under my spell. Little did I know, not only did she not dispose the knife of the confrontation of me outside the hotel, but she captured video footage of what I did to Casey. The video wasn't perfect, but the judge still admitted it as evidence because it was a public park that had cameras rolling away. Wow. That night guard also testified against me. Though he hadn't seen my face that night, he still told the jury what he knew, and along with the video footage from Jocelyn, in addition to the DNA test that proved I was the baby Casey's father, I was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. Troy's psyche was shattered when he learned during my trial that I wasn't his biological father. Go ahead and write a book, Ladybug. The sequel was something that cheating WHORE Maria and I were going to take to our graves, especially since a not so unfortunate accident happened that caused Troy's father's demise. Maria always suspected I had something to do with it, but she never be able to prove it or tie me to it. I was much more careful with my actions back then. The more I think about how reckless I've been with this whole Casey and Jocelyn situation, the more I realize the errors of my ways. Now my freedom has been snatched from me without the possibility of parole. Despite my conviction, I'm going to use every one of my resources to fight for an appeal. Maria's going to help me from the outside, or she better if she knows what's good for her. I made that be everything she ever was. She owes me. Laying in my cell wearing an orange jumpsuit, I chuckle at how this happened, how this became my life. Thankfully, I don't have a roommate at the moment, but I know that can change at any time. I'm not too worried about it though. If they try to put someone in my room, all I have to do is throw a little money at the COs, and their problem will vanish along with any other problems that come my way. The way that I see it, pretty soon I'll be running this prison. Everyone will fall in line in here just like they did on the outside, if they know what's good for them. I'm drifting off to a peaceful sleep when I hear a click. Then the door to my cell slowly begins to open. My eyes pop open and I jerk up to a seated position, resting on my elbows as I take in the three shady figures. The men are big, tall, and muscular. They each look like they eat the gym for breakfast. What's going on? I ask, forcing a neutral expression to not betray a hint of fear. The middle one gives me a creepy smile. A little birdie told me that you knew my girl Casey. My heart leaps to my throat, not only from his tone, but from the hungry look in his eyes along with his two friends. What the F are you talking about, man? I stammer, scrambling up in my bed, so I'm sitting up right now. The men slowly enter my cell and surround me. I'm cornered. There's nothing to do, nowhere to go, nothing I can do. The man smiles again. That same birdie told me that you like to put your hands on her and call her your bee. I also learned that you're the type who likes it rough and doesn't take no for an answer. My mouth goes completely dry as I stare at him in shock. This isn't happening. They're not about to do what I think. The man steps forward, so he's chest to chest with me, but his chest is much bigger and more muscular than mine. He leans over and softly kisses my cheek, and a squeamish feeling runs through me. Then, without warning, I'm flung back onto the bed by his powerful arms. Guards! Guards! I yelp, but no one comes to my rescue as the three men close in on me, tearing at my orange jumpsuit. Chapter 40. Troy. Life has been a blur since my dad's trial. As soon as he settled into prison, my mom filed for divorce. When she told me everything he did to her over the years, coupled with what I knew about what he had done to Casey, I say goods for her and good riddance to him. She closed down all branches of his business and made some investments, gave me half, and now we're both set for life. Dad thought that he didn't know about his offshore accounts. Thought she didn't know about his offshore accounts, but she found those too. I told her she could keep the money from those since she had endured years of torture and infidelity that no one knew about. I'm essentially set for life. I don't have to work if I don't want to, and as long as I don't blow my millions, I'll have everything I've ever needed. But strangely enough, I want to work. I want to get out there and make something of myself, to prove to myself and the rest of the world that I can be a positive contributor to society. Okay, that was worse. I used to fiend for my father's affection, but once I learned what a sick bastard he was, I washed my hands of him. As many bad things as I've done, none of it amounted to the monster he is. But I try not to think about him anymore. He calls my phone every day, leaving messages and begging for me to help him since mom's divorce, and blocked him, but I decline all his calls. Mom says that I need to go ahead and block him too, and eventually I probably will, but for now I enjoy hearing him suffer. As much as Casey and I didn't get along, he didn't have to do what he did. When it was revealed that he was baby Casey's father instead of me, I was furious, but since he's gone, and he's in prison, there's no point in crying over spilled milk. Katrina and I have been taking our time processing all that happened since the trial. I don't know what the future holds for us, but I'm hoping that one day we can be together. I know it's a long shot, but I don't want to pressure her if she isn't ready. She's still taking Casey's death hard, and I have a feeling she's going to adopt baby Casey. That girl clings to her like a shadow, and it's a beautiful thing to see. It's bittersweet because Casey isn't here to watch her daughter grow up, and I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that Katrina and her family will take care of her. I'm just hoping that by the time Katrina gets settled, that she will still have room in her heart for me. In the meantime, I've been on the straight and narrow. I've been working out, volunteering at the Boys and Girls Club, and trying to figure out what my purpose is. Sooner or later, I'll find it, and when I do, I'm going to go at it full force. Hey, Eric, how you doing? Chapter 41, Katrina, a year after the trial. Casey is growing and blossoming, and our birthdays are coming soon. The more I get to know this little girl, the more I see my sister in her. Except I think baby Casey must have been some type of genius gene because the girl is in preschool reading on third grade level. I knew she was smart and articulate when I first met her, but I had no idea how much so. We plan to get her tested soon as if she's a genius, and we will make sure that she has tutors and mentors to help her grow and stimulate her creativity. She amazes me every day, and honestly, her presence is helping me heal. I'll never get over my sister's murder, but to know that Chester is suffering daily helps ease the pain. If I could turn back time, if I could turn back the hands of time, I would have put away our silly differences and embraced my sister. Casey had her faults and flaws, but so did I. Nothing she and I said or did to each other over the years were worth being distant from each other. If we were closer, I could have picked up on the signs of what was happening to her. I could have helped her. I partially blame myself for her death by not noticing that she was a victim. Casey always acted tough, so I never would have guessed, but now looking back at it, there were signs. I thought she kept her distance because we weren't close, but in reality, it was likely because Chester was controlling her every move. Troy told me that his mother endured years of beatings and infidelity from Chester. I can only imagine the pain my sister endured during their affair. I never know the full story of what happened to her, but whatever happened was traumatic enough for her to hide a whole baby and keep the relationship a complete secret, then try to trick Troy into marrying her. I still don't understand how she thought marrying Troy would solve her problems, but she must have had somehow thought it would help her get away from Chester. This is what I agonize about when I'm up at night. Sometimes my mind races with possibilities and I feel like I'm going crazy because I'll never know the full truth. In the moments I call Troy and he calms me down until I'm able to fall asleep. I don't want to burden my mother and father with this because they are dealing with their own trauma, which we are handling through therapy. I should see a therapist too because Troy's hardly qualified, but I'm not ready yet. Maybe after me and Casey's birthdays, I'll set up my first appointment. Either way, I'm going to take it slow and focus on healing and building a solid future for me and my niece before making any other type of decisions. I know Troy still loves me and he's holding out hope for us to be together. I can't deny that I wanted to, but my immediate focus is adopting my niece. Troy's mother, Maria, said that she didn't want her, and that's understandably so. Though she did give me some money to help take care of her. My parents have already raised their children, so that leaves me. I'm eager to do the job, though I worry sometimes that I'm not good enough. When I face those moments, I think of the love that I have for Casey and the unworthy feelings go away. Baby girl and I are gonna make it. I'll do everything in my power to see it too. To see to it. Chapter 42. Jocelyn. As I sit on the beach staring out at the beautiful water, I reflect on my life and how I got to where I am. I made some dumb decisions when I became entangled with Chester, but once I found out what type of man he was, I did my best to right my wrongs. I'll never tell anyone that I was the one watching baby Casey during the week when Casey commuted back and forth on the weekends. I'll never tell anyone that I was the one who hid the knife in Troy's house after sneaking the key off of Casey's keychain, and she'll never tell a soul that I was the one that sent the footage to the police, along with the photos I had taken during the times I stalked him. At first, I thought the evidence would be rendered inadmissible because I didn't leave any contact info. The video and photos were on a flash drive that had no prints on it and enlarged and dissected every photo before sending it to make sure my reflection wasn't seen in any of them. I left a typed note along with the evidence and addressed the envelope to Detective Rogers and Brady, who Katrina had told me were working on Casey's case. She would never know my involvement nor with her family, but it was the least that I could do to help. I felt bad for doing what I did to Troy once I found out that Chester was playing me, but the damage had already been done. The plan was to frame Troy for what happened since he was the easiest target. Of course, Chester didn't know what I had done, but I figured once he found out and I explained my reasoning, would get over it. He never liked Troy anyway. I always described him as his biggest regret in life. That was a horrible way to describe your own son, but it was none of my business. I didn't know everything about Troy and Chester's relationship and didn't care to find out. Chester had given me the switchblade and told me to get rid of it, and at the time, I believed it was because he loved me and was proving that moving forward things would change between us. If he was willing to give me the murder weapon, that must have meant that he was serious. I was blown away by the gesture. Chester said that he wanted us to act like it was some random stranger who unalived Casey, but I knew that wouldn't work. Not with all the people she knew who had a motive to unalive her. Casey was no saint, plain and simple. We needed someone concrete. Once Chester effed up, though, I couldn't get back to Troy's house without being suspected, so I did the next best thing. I thought long and hard about it after Troy was arrested, but I figured sending the video footage would at least cause reasonable doubt for Troy, even if it didn't completely get him off. My hands were tied. That was the best that I could do. Then when Troy got off and Chester was convicted, I was elated my plan worked. That night at the park, I didn't know what Chester was going to do to Casey. Now that my delusion of us one day being together has died down, I'm horrified by what happened to my friend and what could have happened to me if Chester snapped on me when I confronted him outside the hotel. Then that night, I watched Casey and Chester enter her house from a distance and sat for over an hour with the sleeping baby Casey in her booster seat. I had lied and told Chester Casey was left with one of my friends when I confronted him, but she was with me the whole time at the park, and when we had the conversation, she was still asleep in my car in the parking lot. Before they took Casey to the park to plant her body there, I was about to leave her house. I wasn't about to sit there while she effed Chester all night and went to the church the next morning to marry Troy. But I was thrown for a loop when the other car and van pulled up. I froze when I saw them stop outside her house. Tension gripped me as I realized something had happened. Clapping a hand over my mouth, I watched three men carry Casey's body outside the house and put her in the van while Chester sat in the car like they were removing furniture. Then I followed them to the park, circling around and parking in the opposite direction so I wouldn't be seen as I crept over to see what Chester was doing. That was a dummy move on my part, but I couldn't believe what I had witnessed and I needed to see what he would do next. Once the men with the van left, I thought Chester would leave too, but he didn't. He went over by the bushes and I instantly followed. Thankfully, I did because although I wasn't able to help Casey, I was able to get footage that essentially demonstrated what happened. The whole time I was recording, I was torn. Having this footage could put me in a world of trouble if Chester ever found out. He could easily have me unalive just like my friend was unalive and no one would bat an eye. He was a man in power and influence when I was a nameless and jobless woman. Who would believe anything I said over him? But thank God I had a sense of confidence about myself despite my lack of power compared to his. I knew how to play Chester by making him think he had me. And when he thought that he had the upper hand, he eventually learned who he was effing with. When Chester was sentenced to life in prison, I was the one who tipped off Casey's old fling, Man, about what Chester had done to her. Man was doing his own lifelong bid, so I threw a few dollars on his commissary for his assistance. I knew Man would take it from there. He always had love for Casey because he hung heavy with him in high school. Though I still felt guilty, I couldn't do more for my friend. I vowed to honor her memory by living my life to the fullest, starting with figuring out what to do with my $500,000 fortune. I heard Troy's mother had taken all of Chester's money, but thankfully he had already transferred one of his offshore accounts to my name before all that happened. As long as I invested wisely, I should be set for life. No more menial work for me. True freedom was within my reach. Next scene. Smiling, I lay back on my towel and allowed the sun to caress my skin. Cuba is beautiful. I might just stay here. Maybe even give Jimmy a call and have him come from Montenegro so we can see what's up with us for the future. He's cute and he's always been loyal, so maybe we can work something out. As I'm laying with a serene smile on my face, a presence above me causes my sunglass eyes to pop open. I sit up in shock as she gives me an eerie smile. Maria? I gasp at the sight of Troy's mother. Being free from Chester looks good on her. She lost weight and it looks like she's been toning up too. Her hair is cut short and freshly dyed and her bathing suit perfectly fits her figure. Hello, Jocelyn, she says, and an uneasy feeling passes over me. Why are you here? I ask, because I know the reason. I know the reason can't be good. She appears amused for a second, then her smile slightly wanes. You think you're the only one who could take a picture? Take a picture? I'm confused. What is she getting at? And how could she know about what I did if she's talking about what I think she's talking about? From the look in her eyes, my gut tells me she knows. Maria has power, influence, and resources just like Chester did. A horrifying thought occurs to me. Why had I never considered Maria? She was married to Chester for decades, so who knows what the H he put her through. With him digging his own grave by flaunting his money and power and effing around with other women, Maria could have been hatching a plan of her own to take him down. I swallowed a lump in my throat as I realized how easily she could have obtained proof of what I had done. My bones chilled at the implications. Okay. I gestured, waiting for her to continue while she put on a brave act. Chester was a monster. I don't see what the problem is. I did you a favor. I add that last part in hopes that I'm misreading her body language and facial expression and she hasn't come here to cause problems in my life. She plops down beside me in the stand. I'm not talking about Chester. She deadpans. I'm talking about what you almost did to my son. And let's not neglect what you did to poor Casey. When she mentions Troy, I'm ready to open my mouth and go off, but when she mentions Casey, my words die on my lips. I watch as she opens her purse and begins casually throwing a series of photos at me. Some of them land face down in the sand while others land upright. My breath catches in my throat as the image is taken. Me with Casey, me with baby Casey, me with Chester, me at the park after Chester left. How did you get these? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper, but Maria doesn't answer as she continues to smirk at me and toss pictures in my directions. Okay, I exclaim, wanting her to stop. My eyes dart from left to right, trying to see if anyone is watching us, while I simultaneously scramble to gather the pictures so no one passing can see them. As Maria's sinister smile grows, my mind travels back to the night that I've been trying to forget, the night that I've been trying to make right since it happened, the night of Casey's murder. Mama bears don't play about the cubs. That night, I can't believe Chester really loves me. He gave me a $500,000 account. Plus, he trusted me to get rid of the murder weapon. Not Troy, not one of his men from the van or the car, but me. I'm so giddy. I don't know what to do with myself. He's leaving Maria and he's got rid of Casey, but he chose me. I knew it was in my heart that I was a woman for him, and I'm upset it's taken so long for him to see it. But now that our future is clear, I'm fantasizing about the possibilities. At first, my mind goes frantic as I think of what I should do with the switchblade. I don't want to just throw it in a dumpster because obviously Casey will be found eventually. In the first place, they will probably look in the hotel for evidence. Casey, I need to go back to the park to make sure the job is indeed done. Though he stabbed her a few times, she could still be alive. After Chester re-enters the hotel, I go to the park and parking at a distance and checking on baby Casey to ensure she's asleep in her booster seat. A moment of guilt passes through me, and for a second, I'm about to turn back and say, F Chester. That was some trifling stuff to unalive my friend for no reason. Then my mind goes back to the money he gave me and the future of a promise for us. Once I come to a red light, I swipe my screen to check the account again. The money is still there with my name attached. It's mine, and there's one more coming and there's only more coming once he leaves his wife. Chill, chill, Jossie, you got it. I encourage myself. Still, it was smart to return to a crime scene directly after the crime was committed, and especially with the murder weapon in hand. I'm thinking no, but I need to see this through. If Chester and I are going to make it, there can be no loose ends. I arrive at the park where I know Casey is located. No cops or crowd are in sight. The coast is clear, and it's as if God answered my unspoken prayers to help me help my man. I creep over to where Casey is once the night guard who's doing his round is on the other side of the park. His back is turned up to me as he walks, flashing his flashlight in the distance. When I get to the Casey location, I'm startled to see that she's on her stomach and she's inching towards an area where she could easily be seen. Blood rushes through my veins. I panic at first, but then I remember I have the knife. Can I do this? I freeze. I can't unalive Casey. Despite everything, she's my best friend. We've gone through a lot together. I'm about to approach her to help her, but Chester's money flashes through my mind again, and I think of his love for me and all I've done, and all I've already done for Casey. She doesn't deserve it. I realize. Then I think some more and realize Casey has never been a real friend. We've had some good times for sure, but she's mostly used me for her own means, having me keep her secrets and raise her daughter like I'm her dang nanny. Is that what she's always thought of me? The more I think of it, the more I realize I'm right. This is what she thinks of me. Casey sees me as her servant, like I'm beneath her. She can throw a few dollars in my direction, and I'll jump at the chance to do her bidding. I'm ashamed that I let it go on for this long as I did. I stare at her, though. She doesn't seem to notice I'm here. She's still inching towards the clearing in the bushes. What if she survives her injuries and then she ends up back with Chester? Or what if she sues him and gets all his money? F that. I'm taking what's mine. I approach Casey having made my final decision. From the looks of it, she's hanging on by a thread. Her movements are sluggish and her breathing is labored like she's about to die at any moment anyway. All I'm doing is expediting the process. She looks up at the sound of movement, her eyes widen when they see me. Jossie, she gasps, and she looks so scared. I can't be weak. I have to see this through. Blocking any form of morals or compassion from my mind, I roughly nudge her with my foot so she's lying on her back again. When I do, I almost wish I hadn't because there is blood everywhere. Tears fill the corner of my eyes. So much blood. I grow queasy. How could Chester do this to her? I almost drop the switchblade and wipe out my phone to call the police. Then I think about my position. I'm standing here with the dang knife. If by some miracle she's alive when they get here, all she has to do is flip on me and say I stabbed her, and then I'm off to prison while Casey and Chester ride off in the sunset. My expression hardens. I can't let that happen. What? She's trying to ask me what I'm doing, but I can't let her talk to me. I can't let her get in my mind to change it. I need to do this. I deserve this. My future's right in front of me. Before she can say anything else, sorry, sis. I say, sorry, sis. Hope you can forgive me. I raise the switchblade high over my head, flinging it open, and Casey's eyes widen again in terror. Then I finish what Chester started. There's more. I have regretted that night ever since it happened, especially since what Chester did to me afterward. He played me like a fiddle and I fell right into his trap. He was getting his punishments now from Man and his goons, but from the looks of it, the sheer amounts of pictures that were just flung at me, Maria has plans for me too. I sighed, not believing this is happening when things were just looking up for me. Look, lady, I'm sorry about what happened, but as you can see, Troy is fine. For what I understand, both of you are set for life. You have all the money and resources you would ever need, and what happened with Casey has nothing to do with you. Why come for me? She doesn't answer. After several moments of silence, I try again. What do you want from me? Her eerie smiles return, and it's like a creepy game show host, and I'm about to receive a reward for asking the right question. I figure since you did what you did to my son and your so called friend, and you're sitting here spending my money after effing my ex husband for years, I might have use for you. Growing exasperated, I ask, what kind of use? She stands, still smiling, and towers over me. Don't worry your pretty little head over that right now. Just know that I will call, and when I do, you better answer. My mouth hangs open in shock, then she twists the dagger. And just so we're clear, little B, I want all my money back with 10% interest. I'll let you have fun up to that point with the little offshore account, but now it's time to get back to reality. Run me my effing coins in 24 hours if you know what's good for you. With that, Maria tosses a burner phone next to me and walks off, swaying her hips as she exits the beach. The end. I hope you enjoyed The Bridesmaid. I must admit, I had a lot of fun writing this messy, messy tale. I hope you enjoy reading it as much as I enjoy piecing it together. What are your thoughts? I would love to hear from you. Share your review. So if you did like the book, please leave a review on Goodreads or Amazon. It really helps the author out. The name of the book is called The Bridesmaid by Tanisha Stewart. Wow. Beyond messy. I do like the different places she took us, so it wasn't just like straight. You thought it was this point. I like how at some point we thought it was Tyra. At some point we thought it was Nate. Um, I wasn't expecting that plot twist with Maria though. She probably. I mean, the plot twist with Maria and the plot twist with her being the one to finish Casey off, because it's like, okay, we can expect Chester to do it. Chester is like the villain. He's the one we want you to hate. And like Jocelyn, like how she was showing up for the family, calling and everything like that. Like, girl, and when you was the mastermind behind her, girl. But if you have been watching the replay, thank you for being here, and I appreciate y'all. We will be taking a break. The next book that we'll be reading will probably be the new Freedom McFadden book. So we won't be starting this week. We'll be the next book that we'll be reading is February 9th. After the Super Bowl has died down. We'll be reading Dear Debbie by Freedom McFadden as her new release. Y'all have a good one until next time. And it'll be 12:30 a.m. that Monday night when I get off work.